Jewelry, get 20% off Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable prices. Special financing, too. Get her something she can enjoy and appreciate for years to come. A fashion favorite from Diamonds Direct. Shop in-store or online at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
We asked people why they sold their homes to Grandview Homes instead of using a real estate agent.
We needed to sell Mom's home quickly and with a company we could rely on.
No showings, no closing costs, no staging, no real estate agent fees, no added stress.
Whether you have a hard-to-sell home, want a stress-free sale, or simply need to sell your home fast, Grandview Homes is the name you know and the name you can trust. Visit GrandviewHomes.com to discover the easiest and fastest way to sell a home.
Hey, there's free pizza today at the Amazing Mineshaft Restaurant in Hartford. Seriously, it's free. WTMJ's John Mercure here. Every Thursday when you buy one pizza, you get a second pizza free. No coupons, no gimmicks. It's the best Thursday dining value anywhere, and it's delicious. Buy 2 pizzas, get 2 free. Buy 10, get 10 free. Any size, any quantity. Coaches, bring in your basketball, hockey, wrestling, gymnastics teams. Your players can beef up on the Mineshaft's great pizza. Your players will also love that world-class game room. It's great for team bonding. It's big food. It's big fun. Bring in pizza today for your loyal employees and valued clients. They'll appreciate you, and your second pizza is free. So don't cook and clean today. Take your family to the Mineshaft. Buy one pizza, get one free. Plenty to take home for tomorrow. The Mineshaft right there in beautiful downtown Hartford and in Oshkosh off the interstate. Order now and pick up your free hot pizza shortly. I love the pepperoni. It's the Amazing Mineshaft.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
Keeping you informed, keeping you safe, keeping you engaged and entertained. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 9:01, it's mostly cloudy and 43 degrees in downtown Milwaukee. On our way to a high of 52 today. We'll flirt with record highs across southeast Wisconsin. Could also see some evening storms, down to a low tonight of 44. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Adam Roberts. We'll have more on today's potential warm and severe weather in just a moment. But first, want to pass along an update on our story we've been following this morning. That apartment fire near 22nd and Layton on the city's south side. One person is confirmed dead this morning at the senior citizen apartment complex. Our partners at TMJ4 News reporting the death, along with 2 other residents who have been transported to the hospital with unknown statuses at this hour. 2 others being evaluated on the scene this morning for injuries. The Milwaukee Fire Department has not confirmed the cause of the fire at this time. We'll have more updates as they become available on WTMJ. Back to the weather, along with potential record high temps today. Storm Team 4 meteorologist Tyler Moore says we can't rule out the possibility of isolated severe weather.
Our ingredients are there that we could see a couple rumbles of thunder this afternoon and the low chance for an isolated strong to severe storm. We could see some hail, some gusty winds, and even the isolated rotation. There has never been a tornado in Wisconsin in February, so pretty rare to see us low of level 1 risk for severe weather and even the isolated chance for a brief tornado. But that's something we'll have to watch towards this evening.
Your complete WTMJ 5-day forecast coming up right after the news. A Milwaukee grocery store closed until further notice following multiple health code violations. A report from the Milwaukee Health Department obtained by WTMJ indicates nearly 24 health code violations recorded at the Cermak in Walker's Point during an inspection this past Tuesday. The location will be closed until it is brought into compliance with health and safety standards. Governor Tony Evers says he's still skeptical that Republican-controlled legislators can pass new maps that he has proposed. This as parties and others involved in the redistricting case today can respond to last week's consultants report, which indicated maps submitted by the Republican legislature and a conservative law firm were partisan gerrymanders. New maps must be in place by March 15th. President Biden this morning grieving the loss of 5 U.S. Marines who died when their helicopter went down overnight outside of San Diego.
The president released a statement that reads in part, he and the First Lady are heartbroken over the deaths of the Marines. The statement says, our service members represent the very best of our nation, and these 5 Marines were no exception. Mr. Biden went on to say, as the Department of Defense continues to assess what occurred, we extend our deepest condolences to their families, their squadron, and the U.S. Marine Corps. He went on to call the 5 Marines part of our nation's finest warriors. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
And the U.S. Supreme Court today considering a historic challenge for former President Donald Trump's ability to seek re-election.
Virtually every institution of our government seems to be mired in hopeless partisanship. And the question is, how will the Supreme Court break down on this? Will it just be partisan lines, Republican justices going one way, those appointed by Democrats the other way? Or will the Supreme Court come out with something either 9-0 or 8-1? Something that is decisive on this, that doesn't break down on party lines.
ABC Chief Washington Correspondent Jonathan Karl. Time for news about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. A little bit better for the NASDAQ. They started the day down, now up 16 points to 15,772. Meanwhile, the Dow Jones up 19 to 38,695. The S&P 500 still holding basically even from yesterday at 4,994. It's a great time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button now. Sports, traffic, and weather coming up next. Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 9:05.
As an independent tire and service center, our loyalty is to you, not the manufacturer.
It's the tire manufacturer's goal to design a superior tire.
But it's our job to ensure the right tires are properly installed on your vehicle.
A service our family has been independently providing for the past 2 generations. So make no mistake about it, our loyalty is to you.
And the dozens of tire brands we carry, like Goodyear, General, and Pirelli,
or Continental, Kelly, and Dunlop, well, that's for you too.
Because we won't know what type of tire you need until you get here.
So instead, we carry them all.
Because we install them all.
And every tire we install automatically comes with free flat tire repair.
Which means you're 100% covered.
No questions asked.
I guess you could call it family tradition.
Be safe, buckle up, and hey.
Always make sure you've got good tread on your tires. I'm Brett Matchke with Richlands. Your
due for service.
Richlands Tire and Service. Such a refreshing change. Richlands.
Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik here to tell you about my friends over at the Hounds and Tap in Menominee Falls. It's a state-of-the-art facility and the ultimate hangout for hounds and humans. Grab a drink at the tavern, meet others while your pup enjoys the dog park. That's a mud-free dog park, by the way. Fun, happy, clean, and a great environment for everyone. The Hounds and Tap also provides doggy daycare, boarding, and professional grooming services. We take our greyhound there regularly. Learn more about their services. Check out thehoundsandtap.com. That's thehoundsandtap.com.
St. Vincent de Paul, Milwaukee has expanded into our new 76th and Bradley Road location, where thrifters will find hundreds of bargains on everything, from clothing to furniture, electronics, home goods, and more. Our inventory is always changing, and new deals pop up every day. We're accepting donations, too, at our convenient drive-through donation area. Help us help others. St. Vincent de Paul at 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee is now open.
Ooh, you're gonna love it. St. Vincent de Paul.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
We'll see if home cooking helps cure the Milwaukee Bucks as they welcome Minnesota to Fiserv Forum to kickstart 4 straight back in Milwaukee. Game time is 7 p.m. here on 620 WTMJ with Buck Shoot-Around kicking things off at 6 p.m. Stunning loss for the Badgers last night, falling to Big Ten basement residents Michigan 72-68 in Ann Arbor. Wisconsin now 16-7 and reeling, losing 3 straight college basketball games. The Milwaukee Panthers begin a crucial road stretch of 3 away from home, matching up with Youngstown State tonight. You can catch the game on our sister station, 101.7 FM, The Truth, tonight at 5:30 with Scott Warris on the call. And the Milwaukee Brewers add another bat, signing free agent catcher Gary Sanchez to a 1-year deal. He hit 19 home runs with the Mets and Padres last season. I'm Bob Brainerd, WTMJ Sports.
Checking those roads, your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Got a vehicle on the shoulder due to a crash on 94 South right near Drexel still. A squad attending to that as well. Again, that's on the left shoulder, 94 South near Drexel. Not impacting your drive time at all this morning. We do have some drive time impacts through the Marquette right now, heading from 94 towards north towards west. It's just adding a few extra minutes on your ride from the Marquette towards the zoo. Other than that, no other major delays or incidents to be found across the system. The WTMJ 5-day forecast, mostly cloudy, breezy, could see showers and some afternoon thunderstorms, some of which could be isolated strong to severe. Very warm today, a high around 52 in Milwaukee. Some areas could be a few degrees higher or lower. Storms continue into the evening, then mostly cloudy and breezy with a low of 44 tonight. Partly cloudy, a high of 51 early tomorrow, then temperatures will fall throughout the afternoon. Could see a rain-snow mix in the southern portions of our listening area Saturday with a high of 38 Sunday and Monday with slight rain-snow mix chances. Right now in Madison, mostly cloudy and 42, 43 and cloudy in Green Bay. Waukesha clouds and 39 degrees, and in Milwaukee, mostly cloudy and 43. I'm Adam Roberts, citing Unlimited WTMJ News Time 9:10.
Good morning, Wisconsin. Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's WTMJ Now. News, opinions, Wisconsin. Everything you need to know in the Badger State and beyond. Come give us your thoughts on the WTMJ Talk and Text line at 855-616-1620. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
And good morning, buddy. Welcome to the Thursday edition. It is the 8th day of February, and I am excited about this hour. We have two really smart gentlemen in studio. To my radio left, I've known him for probably 12 years.
That's right.
Right on the number. He's a former U.S. Attorney for Southeastern Wisconsin, Jim Santel. How are you?
Steve, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on this morning. Delighted to be with you as part of this important discussion.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of all the legal cases swirling around this great country of ours at the federal level, and there's ongoing stories happening right now.
Supreme having Court impact on Wisconsin, too, right?
Yep. Supreme Court hearing arguments in the Trump ballot access case. And to my radio right, Attorney Matt O'Neill. I did a podcast with him recently, along with our friend, retired Judge Mary Kuhnmensch from the law firm of Fox, O'Neill and Shannon. Matt O'Neill, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Great to be here. Excited to talk about some wonderful topics.
Yeah, so I mean, what I love about this opportunity is all of us are hearing about these cases. We're watching our nightly programs, whatever those are, on Fox or MSNBC or CNN or on the radio with me or other broadcasters, and we're not attorneys. I've got two smart attorneys in the room, so I want to walk through these cases. Let's start with the one that I'm looking at on the monitor right now. So I'll start with you, Jim. The U.S. Supreme Court is basically, it's called the Colorado case, correct?
Right.
Can Donald Trump be on the ballot for president?
This is the primary ballot, the Republican primary election out there, and that's the question. Fascinating, again, that this comes out of a trial. There was actually a trial before the trial court judge in Colorado, and based upon the evidence presented, the witnesses, the documents, she found two things. She found, number one, that yes, Donald Trump had engaged in an insurrection, and that the 14th Amendment applies, but she interpreted the language of the word official to mean that official does not include the president. So she came all the way to the edge and finally said, but as to this particular person, Donald Trump remains on the ballot. Goes up to the Colorado Supreme Court, and they adopt, based upon her evidentiary record at trial, they adopt this fundamental notion, yes, indeed, insurrection happened. Donald Trump participated in it. They part company with the lower court judge by saying, oh, by the way, the 14th Amendment does, in fact, include the president, and that's the case now that the Supreme Court this morning is hearing argument on in Washington, D.C.
What's your reading of that? Is Donald Trump, in fact, or was he an officer?
One of the things that I would recommend to all your listeners, I know that they do this because they're
I knew
bright.
there wasn't going to be a yes or no answer.
Exactly, right, from a lawyer, right. You go back and you read the opinion from the Colorado Supreme Court. It is a compelling piece of writing, not just from a legal perspective, but it sets forth in great detail the basis for the finding of an insurrection, Donald Trump's participation, and as my friend Matt will probably comment on as well, under the 14th Amendment here, it's a pretty compelling case. We haven't had this precedentially before, but it's a pretty compelling case. And so I would offer that if you had a perfect world of justice and a perfect world where we're not living in other times here, you might have judges and courts who would say, yes, indeed, we're going to affirm that. Donald Trump remains off the ballot. We also have this thing going on in Maine at the same time, right? The same kind of issue.
Right.
Here, however, there are many, many other things. One of the things that we want to talk about is all the options that the Supreme Court will probably be arguing about in the next few moments. We call the off-ramps, all the ways that it can get to one result or another without necessarily having to wrestle with all the central issues here. There are many, many, many things that they can talk about, including things like who's responsible for enforcing the 14th Amendment, what it means, what the language means. All that will be the subject of the discussion this morning.
And Matt, the question of insurrection, he doesn't have to be, in my reading of that language, he doesn't have to be convicted of insurrection, correct?
The congressional language, the amendment's very broad. It just says engaged in insurrection. So it doesn't say guilty of insurrection, it just says engaged. But as much as I respect Jim, I think this chance of this Colorado decision being upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court is near zero.
Why do you think that?
I think that because I don't see a circumstance in our federalist system that a amendment to the Constitution can be enforced on a state-by-state basis, and I don't think they're going to allow that. I think if this amendment has to be given force, it has to be given force nationally, and that would require, in my opinion, some kind of a finding by a federal court that there was an insurrection and a determination by a federal court that has authority to issue a broader injunction to say that's the remedy. Now, mind you, Steve, the language of the amendment itself doesn't bar someone from running for office. The language is to hold any office. And so there are those who argue, and there's an amicus brief before the court right now that says none of this is all getting before the ball. Anybody can run for office if it turns out you're guilty of insurrection. You just can't take the office.
What do you think of that?
Right. I think there are very compelling arguments in all those directions. And I should say that indeed both your guests this morning agree with each other. My comment before was about the compelling nature of the underlying Supreme Court decision. I think the Supreme Court is absolutely going to find one of those pathways to overturn the Colorado Supreme Court and put him back on the ballot.
I have literally on this show argued with candidates for Wisconsin Supreme Court who told me, as written, that's how I rule.
Yep, right.
And I said to that individual, we wouldn't have courts if it was that simple.
Right.
That's simplistic. Right. There's interpretation. Either one of you guys can jump in. There's interpretation to all the words that are codified in our laws and language.
Absolutely. That's what judges do all the time. That's why people like Matt and others write briefs all the time, make those kinds of oral arguments. Here, you've got very little to rely upon, right? There is a case out of New Mexico a couple of years ago in which a state court judge found that a particular state official who was convicted of insurrection on January 6th, that he could no longer hold office. So there's a little bit of precedent out there on that issue. But beyond that, as Matt was just saying, we're writing almost on a clean slate here. And of course, we've got post-Civil War, right? That's the reason why this language is put there. The notion at that time was, well, we can tell who was engaged in the insurrection. It's all those people who seceded. It was clearer, perhaps, at that time than it is now.
So do you both agree that this will probably not stand and Donald Trump will be on all the ballots?
Correct. I believe that as well.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Matt O'Neill, Jim Santel. We're just getting started here, rolling through all these cases. Presidential immunity. That question was sort of answered by an appeals court, federal appeals court. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more with my two really smart guests today on WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Be sure to load up on Vienna Beef hot dogs for this weekend's big football game. The official hot dog of the Milwaukee Brewers is Vienna Beef. Manufactured and produced since 1893. Available at select grocers and hot dog stands near you.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Annex Wealth Management. Thinking of planning for retirement like the moving walkway at the airport. When you're on it and approaching the end, you need to think about stepping off. Sometimes it's not so easy. Where are you on the moving walkway of retirement? Is there anything you're missing? Is it time to talk with Annex Wealth Management to button things up? Annex is a fee-only fiduciary. It's about you, not commissions. Take full advantage of the CFPs, CFAs, CPAs, PhDs, and attorneys that are on staff and part of your team working on investment, retirement, estate, and tax planning. No one's the same. Annex gets that. You might need help with your Social Security strategy. How about 401k options, pension plan guidance, annuity analysis? When you're a client of Annex, help is only a visit or a quick phone call away. Take action. Know the difference. Start at annexwealth.com.
Hi, folks. This is Hank Albert, owner of BBC Lighting. With the weather getting colder, our prices get even hotter. And at our showroom, you'll see all the top brands of lighting and ceiling fans, such as Visual Comfort, Monte Carlo, and more. Our new in-store visual technology will allow you to find every light and fan from every major brand. including their price and description. And our prices are always the lowest. I guarantee it. If it's lampshades or repairs you need, we do all that too. There's something for everyone at BBC, including fun for Dad and the kids, and our famous free popcorn. BBC is open Monday through Saturday and is located at 20th and St. Paul Avenue, across from Sobelman's and Bachman Furniture, all near the Potawatomi Casino. Stay safe and healthy, my friends.
WTMJ Now.
Great hour of radio to start our Thursday here, and I've got a lot of fun stuff coming up later in the show, but this is serious stuff, and I've had so many of my listeners over the last, I want to say a year now plus, talking about all the legal strategies and all these cases, and we're not attorneys, most of us, but I have two really smart attorneys in the room today. Jim Santel, former U.S. Attorney for Southeastern Wisconsin, and another local attorney, Matt O'Neill, who's argued cases on redistricting and recalls and all that stuff. So you both have a lot of experience in courtrooms. 2 days ago, a federal appeals court said the president does not have immunity, which is a big deal because that's something that former President Donald Trump has argued. I'll start with you first, Matt. A lot of the conversation nationally from legal scholars and experts has been, boy, these judges did a really unanimous decision, really tight job, didn't leave a lot of gray. My question is for both of you, and I'll start with you. Will the Supreme Court say, U.S. Supreme Court say, nice job, we'll leave it alone?
They won't. I think institutionally the Supreme Court, as the top court in the land, is going to view this as an unresolved and important question that it is theirs to make a final determination. It is prepped for them to take it. So I think even though they will reach the same result, I think they will take the case, hear the arguments, and make the decision with finality.
Would the right word be to set a U.S. Supreme Court precedent?
Yes.
Okay. So you think it'd be unanimous?
I don't. I think it would likely be 7-2 or 8-1.
Which is still pretty substantial given the conservative lean on this court. Three of the justices, I believe, appointed by Donald Trump. Jim.
Yes, I come to the same conclusion. I think they probably will. I'd amend your question a bit, Steve, just by saying, should they take it? Again, the perfect world that I'm positing this morning, the answer is they shouldn't have to, right? This argument, this underlying argument that our president is a king, as Tanya Chutkan dismissed, it's ridiculous. It is frivolous. It is craziness. And the notion that we're spending all this time addressing this issue, which is a non-starter, is a concern to me, and I think all of us out there. Having said that, I think Matt's right. Probably the Supreme Court wants to weigh in and say definitively, yes, there's no there. The issue is timing on all this, and whether or not this can be done in time to send Tanya Chutkan, who is the trial court judge, information, their direction on whether she could go ahead with her trial.
Now, former President Donald Trump has said over and over again on social media, on some of the interviews he's done with friendly media, national media, that a president has to have immunity. Otherwise, every decision the president, not just him, other people make, can be reviewed or challenged in court. And either of you buy that?
Don't buy it for 1 second. Presidents do have civil immunity, by the way. They can't be sued civilly for anything they do within the scope of their office as president. But to have criminal immunity and say that's somehow a chilling effect, I don't. It has no validity in the Constitution, and it would elevate the president among every other citizen of the country as saying they are not subject to the law, and that can't be and won't be.
One of the reasons I brought that up is because I was doing some research on this topic, and it's not uncommon for any president who takes military action to at some point post-presidency be accused of being, a warmonger and somebody who killed innocent civilians. That's why I asked the question, because if that happened, would that not fall into that if he didn't have some sort of immunity, that he could be sued by people for engaging in military actions?
Right, and here's where it gets kind of wonky civics. Also, we used to do these cases around the U.S. Attorney's Office. There's a doctrine under the Federal Tort Claims Act that says basically you cannot sue for actions in the military field, that sort of thing. That's a tort. That's a civil issue. Significantly to your point and to Matt's good comment, Court of Appeals said this very clearly. The risk of former presidents being unduly harassed by meritless federal criminal prosecutions is slight. They dismissed this whole concept that we're concerned about the future and said, no, this is a very narrow thing we're talking about right here. And again, presidents are subject to the rule of law in America. That's also United States versus Nixon going back a few decades as well. So there is that precedent out there as well.
There's one other thing, Steve. The Constitution also has the impeachment clause, and part of the impeachment clause points out that even if a president is impeached and not convicted, he can still be tried later criminally. So the Constitution itself recognizes that conduct of a president can lead to criminal prosecution after office.
So I think Jim mentioned the timeline here.
Yes.
Should the U.S. Supreme Court, in their deliberations, in their caseload, worry about a timeline that impacts a national election?
Supreme Court is aware of that it lives in the real world, right? And I think to the comments that Matt and I are making this morning, the interesting thing that I think we're going to be looking for is the timing on this. Let us suppose that when Donald Trump appeals to the Supreme Court, files this application for a writ of certiorari, which again is the procedural thing to do here, they decide to take it, but they also establish a very, very tight time deadline on this. They say, okay, you've got to get your brief in by a week from now. We'll get the response a weekend after that. We'll have oral argument the week after that. If they move quickly on this, that's a Supreme Court that recognizes we've got an election going on.
Define
if they
quickly.
don't,
Define quickly.
Quickly would be just within weeks. Candidly. And they can do it. We know from back in 2000 when we were dealing with the Bush versus Gore, they can act. Courts can act very quickly overnight almost and do this. Supreme Court can do this if it decides to take it. If they don't, that's going to be a tea leaf. If they say we're going to schedule this out for a decision in June, then all bets are off and Tanya Chutkan does not have a chance to try this case probably before the election.
Yeah, I agree. The Court of Appeals did what I consider a fairly clever thing. They stayed any further prosecution, but they limited their stay to bringing a petition for certiorari by Monday. And if no petition is brought by Monday, even though normally you have 90 days.
Is that undue haste, though? That's really quick.
Not in these circumstances.
No?
No, when there are emergencies, and I'm engaged in a lot of election litigation, and in election litigation, you move, courts move, it can be done. It's hard. It's a lot of work. You set everything in your life aside, everything else aside, but you can do it, and the court has done it, and I think they will do it.
Man, that's fascinating
and
stuff.
There's a reason for that, right? Because you're concerned about the population, the public, right? This is the election of our future leadership. I'm not saying other cases are not significant, both civil and criminal, but this is pretty close to the top.
Our guests this hour, this is a fascinating hour, and we're just getting warmed up. Jim Santel, former U.S. attorney, and from a local attorney's office here in Milwaukee, Matt O'Neill. After the break, one of our guests brought this case in front of me, U.S. versus Fisher. I wasn't aware of it. You argue, Mr. Santel, and we'll get to the answer after the break, that this might be the most important of these cases that are looming out there. We'll get to that and more on WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Wake up with me. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 8:15 for Matzik's Morning Minute during Wisconsin's Morning News. Everything you need to know about all your favorite Wisconsin teams in just 60 seconds.
Picked up by Lillard, lobs to Giannis, who thumps it down on the alley-oop.
Every Monday and Friday at 8:15 during Wisconsin's Morning News.
Coaching in the arena and your jerseys hanging above you, I can turn to the players and say, guys, I swear to God, I play basketball. Just look up.
Sponsored by Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Universal Windows Direct. If you've been cold in your own house, you don't have to suffer through one more winter with that. That is nonsense. Call my guys at Universal Windows Direct. Super Spacer Technology. What is that? It helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes the windows last, get this, up to 5 times longer than traditional window systems. So your windows from Universal perform better and last longer. For the last windows you'll ever need, go to universalwindowsdirect.com. One more time, universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
With Social Security, the longer you wait, the more money you may get. Deciding when to start taking your Social Security benefits is one of the most important retirement decisions you'll make. Our team of advisors at Drake & Associates can show you the options and help you decide on the best decision for you and your situation. You spent decades paying in, optimize what comes out. Our experienced team can help you squeeze every penny out of your Social Security benefits. I'd love to get you our Retirement Ready Toolkit, which includes guides such as the Social Security decision. To receive this complimentary toolkit, call or text SS to 414-409-9982. That's calling or texting SS to 414-409-9982.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC, a Wisconsin insurance agency. Clients are under no obligation to purchase any recommended insurance products.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here for Absolute Comfort HVAC. Worst time to start asking, hey, do you know an HVAC guy? It's when your furnace already quit on you. I've got your guy, Absolute Comfort HVAC. Brent and his team offer a full furnace tune-up for just $89, or do what I did. Bundle that with the spring AC tune-up, $150 plus tax. That includes discounts on parts and equipment and no fees for emergency repairs. Absolute Comfort HVAC. They're your HVAC guy. AbsoluteComfortWI.com.
It's WTMJ Now.
I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm loving this hour. This is sort of one of the new formats of the show. I'm going to spend a lot of time on some serious questions related to politics, but in this case, on Thursdays, the legal elements of all of that. And our guests are Jim Santel, former U.S. Attorney, and local attorney Matt O'Neill. So I'm going to start with you, Jim. You brought this to our attention. I'm going to let you lay it out because I was not aware of this case. It's called U.S. versus Fisher. Explain.
That's exactly right. FISCHER. We know there are about 1,200 people from January 6th already brought into the criminal justice system, charged, convicted, sentenced. One of them is Mr. Fisher. He was charged and convicted in the U.S. District Court in the D.C. Trial court there, and he is now appealing his conviction through the appeals court. He got actually a favorable ruling from a lower court saying that the statute under which the Department of Justice charged him was not properly applied to him. Okay? Now, a later court overturned that. He brings that to the Supreme Court. It's pending right now before the same Supreme Court that's hearing arguments this morning. The Fisher is the name of the case, and the reason why it is significant is if the Supreme Court, as they sometimes do with criminal statutes, says, government, Mr. Attorney General, Madam or Mr. U.S. Attorney, you've overreached, you can't use this statute to address this particular conduct, we're going to vacate, we're going to overturn the underlying conviction. And I will tell you, in this particular case, although I think there's a basis for this conviction under this statute, this is one where I will not bet you more than lunch, Steve, of what the Supreme Court may do on this. They could overturn Mr. Fisher's conviction. Now, why is that important for Donald Trump? Because the same statute that Mr. Fisher is challenging effectively, it's under the obstruction rubric, if you will, is also the basis for two of the 4 counts of the indictment against Donald Trump in the insurrection case brought by Jack Smith. So if the Supreme Court sometime this term says, you know what, you can't use this statute to address the kinds of things that happened on January 6th, depending upon what they say, it may arguably cut the criminal prosecution against Donald Trump in half.
It seems like a backdoor way for the former president to maybe get his way.
Absolutely. And he's not a party to it, Steve, as you just said. He's not a party to it. Interestingly, among the 60 cases before the Supreme Court as of this morning, Supreme Court still has not scheduled oral argument on Fisher. So again, if they issue an opinion in June, interesting to see where the underlying criminal case will be at that time.
All right, Matt, you got to jump on this because I know you didn't study it like he did, but it seems it's rather interesting.
It's very interesting, and it once again comes back to this whole insurrection was such a fundamentally new thing for the country, and hopefully we never see it again, but it gives rise to things we've never had to grapple with. And one was, how do you charge people for busting into the United States Capitol and causing chaos when we're supposed to be counting electoral votes? And it sounds like they said, well, let's find this. And the second and third thises may or may not be appropriate. Very proper for the Supreme Court to rule, and if Mr. Fisher wins, it sounds like the trial for the insurrection will be quicker.
And I will say, Steve, that during my time as U.S. Attorney and Assistant U.S. Attorney before that, there are many times, we won't talk about them this morning, when the Supreme Court comes back and overturns what we understood to be 20 years of interpretation of a mail fraud statute, a wire fraud statute. There's a thing called honest services that's been the subject of a lot of discussion by all sorts of courts. And all of a sudden, overnight, you recognize I've got to charge things differently. And oh, by the way, the convictions or even the trial I'm going ahead with next week, I can't go ahead with that because the Supreme Court just told me it's more limited.
I want to ask you this question. I asked our friend Rick Esselberg, my friend Rick Esselberg for the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, this question. You mentioned Bush versus Gore earlier. Is there any opportunity for the U.S. Supreme Court to say with all of these cases, to kind of lump them all together? Is that a possibility?
It's not. The prosecutions are far too varied that are ongoing. One in Manhattan has to do with the hush money payments long before the first election. The one down in Georgia is a state prosecution. Certainly the two Jack Smith cases in D.C. and in Florida could be lumped together, and they are for immunity purposes. It'll apply to both. But I can't see the Supreme Court being able to clump them all in one and rule on everything.
I agree entirely. As to just the federal cases, the one that we're talking about centrally here in America, the January 6th case, that's premised upon that insurrection, that undermining the election. And not in any way to diminish the significance of the so-called Mar-a-Lago documents case, but those are different sets of facts. That's taking out of the White House some classified and non-classified documents, different set of laws, different facts.
We're gonna shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about a special counsel report due on President Biden, his holding of documents, classified documents that he shouldn't have had. Just a quick sense of what you think. Which case is most likely to be finished first of the cases pending against Donald Trump?
Whoa, that is just a. All right, I am a gambler.
I'll answer. I'm not an attorney. The documents case.
I think the Manhattan case will go first and get through, even though it is probably the least fitting case to go first of all four of them.
I once again agree with my friend and colleague here. It is the least fitting. The one that should be going ahead first is the January 6th case. That's the one that we're focused on. That goes to the future of democracy. The Manhattan case, again, not to undermine the significance of it. Alvin Bragg, the DA there, has said, as has the judge, who's going to be having a status conference sometime soon, if all these other cases, if nobody else can get their act together in time, no trials going ahead, we'll slip in, we'll do this next month, and chances are you could get that case prosecuted first. First one charged among the four criminal cases could be the first one tried as well.
What a year ahead. All right, we're just getting warmed up. It's 9:35 on WTMJ. After the break, President Joe Biden, the current president of the United States, handled some classified documents inappropriately, we'll say. I think found in his garage at his home. We'll discuss that case, and we got to talk about the DA, Fannie Willis, and all of that controversy with our guests, Matt O'Neill, Jim Santel, after this.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
988 Wisconsin Lifeline. How can I help you?
Share hope, find purpose when you become a 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselor. The 988 Wisconsin Lifeline provides free and confidential support to anyone experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis. Staffed by Family Services, 988 has experienced tremendous growth, and more statewide counselors are needed to answer calls, texts, and chats to the Lifeline. If you want to share hope and find purpose in your next job, apply now. You can work remotely from anywhere in Wisconsin. Training is provided and flexible hours are available. 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselors enjoy competitive compensation and benefits packages. Most importantly, you can share hope and find purpose when you become a 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselor. Apply today at 988lifelinecounselor.org. Family Services is an equal opportunity employer.
Paid for by grants from SAMHSA and the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
WTMJ Now.
Looking at all the legal cases swirling around this upcoming election. This one doesn't necessarily have to do with the election, but it's, I guess, the fair and balanced way I look at things, not in the Fox fair and balanced, but my version of fair and balanced. The President of the United States, the current President, Joe Biden, who is, by the way, running for re-election, he also handled some classified documents inappropriately, and there's apparently a special counsel report that's coming out very soon. I'll start with you, Jim. What do we think this is going to find?
Sure. Sometime soon, again, to the credit of the President Attorney General, decided to appoint a U.S. attorney to serve as special counsel. That U.S. attorney, by all reporting, predictably, is going to come up with a report that says two things. One is no criminal involvement here, no criminal liability here, which is their key point. There is no intent by the present president to mishandle these documents, but probably will criticize him for doing what? Yes, for having them in his home and also in his office in Washington.
Does the distinction that this president handed them over before he was asked to make a big difference in the special counsel?
I think it does. And again, I don't normally lump together people like Joe Biden and Mike Pence. But the reality is we already know that the Mike Pence prosecution, same kind of thing, not going forward. Both of them not only cooperated, but basically raised their hands and said, hey, look what we found. Take a look at me in the case of Mike Pence. Investigations of both of those, in both cases, finding, the documents should not be there, but no criminal intent because there's no purposeful evasion, if you will, with respect to the federal law, nothing there to prosecute, and that's what we should anticipate from this case, like we did with the Mike Pence case.
Matt, does politics weigh into this at all?
Politics weighs into everything.
Yes, it does.
However, I think the standard that the system would look at any former president and identify and criticize if they mishandled classified documents is appropriate. The difference in the prosecution that is pending down in Florida is that President Trump is accused of knowingly doing so, knowingly obstructing the investigation, trying to hide the documents, and in a recorded conversation showing classified documents to people who weren't allowed to see them and commenting that he couldn't do it. And that's a whole different level of action than what appears to be incredible sloppiness by these other officials who have taken these documents home when they know better and shouldn't.
Sort of the public's way of looking at it. I'll give you it seems remarkable to me, and I've been in the White House a number of times, and the security that's on display there is, even with cell phones, you can't take them in a lot of the rooms, that somebody can just walk out with like highly classified documents and throw them in their garage seems nuts to me.
And there are some photographs I think we've seen in the media of kind of the staffers taking those boxes sort of in that street between the West Wing and the old executive office building, putting in the back of a truck. We'd still rely upon human beings to make those judgment calls, and somebody's got to go through thousands of those documents. You know, the better practice here is to say, listen, we're going to leave all these here. Over time, people can take a look at those. If there are things that I want for my library, that sort of thing, then send them to me. But don't just pack them up and take them into your garage. Take them back to Indiana. Take them to South Florida or New Jersey. And again, as Matt said, the big difference, criminal versus non-criminal, is intent, purposeful violation of the law.
If Joe Biden is indeed found no criminal liability and Donald Trump, that we have the documents case, I'll say it again because I said it before. Why do we not think the documents case against Trump is a slam dunk?
I think it's the strongest of the four.
But why wouldn't it be quickly prosecuted and convicted?
In my experience, and Jim can differ, nothing happens quickly in the federal courts.
Because there's attorneys involved?
Correct. Yes, and there are lots of motions, and there are issues that need to be weeded through. The immunity thing is making its course in the insurrection case, but it's applicable to the charges down there. Things just take time. But I think trial is scheduled there for May, which to me is relatively quick, or at least consistent with federal criminal prosecutions. And right now, that one's set to go. I don't see something that's going to stop it.
Right. The other big aspect of the documents case, at least to most part, these other cases do not have, is a national security aspect. I've handled a couple of these cases here in the Eastern District of Wisconsin, and you should know that anytime you've got a single page that has the words classified, secret on it. You've got to go through all kinds of hoops for disclosure of it in discovery. And the judge also has to, her name is Eileen Cannon there. She's a federal district judge there in Florida. She also has hearings on whether or not and how those documents can be used in trial. Here we've got lots and lots of them. And so that too adds to the delay, if you will, in getting all this done. Also some concerns about the extent to which she is scheduling things in a real expedited fashion. Some of that may be legitimate. I'm not going to get inside the particular docket scheduling of the district court down there.
She's been considered to be pro-Trump.
Exactly, right. And you can, to some extent, I'm not saying she's obstructionist, to the extent that your caseload requires it, you can schedule things as your overall caseload demands that you make attention to various things.
And one, I would tap the brakes slightly on it being a slam dunk, whereas I think it is a case they can prove all of the elements with outstanding proof. Going back to politics, you have a jury of your peers who are all have some kind of political leaning. And I think in all of these prosecutions, the looming danger of jury nullifications, of simply having jurors who will not convict a former president that they support is a very real consideration.
That is a brilliant point. It is in Florida. So, and we know that Donald Trump's very popular in that state. All right. Another case that's high profile, not for the case specifically, but for the conduct of the district attorney and a prosecutor. We'll discuss that case as we wind up our legal hour here on WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button. One of our senior loan consultants, Brad, sent them a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. They made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about Accunet's new property-specific pre-approval, where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer, several $1,000s over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their property-specific rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included that most powerful phrase, no appraisal required, and the sellers picked Steve and Ashley's offer over several others. If you think all mortgage lenders and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with a local mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win and save money too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Get help for your house this Saturday from Eric Brown. The president of Siding Unlimited knows his stuff. Yes, their name is Siding, but they do so much more. Windows by Pella and others, roofing, decks. That's why they are Siding Unlimited. Eric can advise you with anything about your home's exterior. Make a point to listen and call Eric this Saturday on WTMJ's Fix-It Show. And remember why they are called Siding Unlimited. They are siding and much, much more. See sidingunlimited.com and you'll see.
Church and Chapel Funeral Homes. Family owned, family operated, family priced. Church and Chapel Funeral Homes. There's one near you.
Hey, Valentine's Day is almost here. Just think how much your sweetheart means to you. WTMJ's John Merck here. I highly recommend taking your love to the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club for a free dinner. Now listen closely. On Valentine's Day, enjoy an 8-ounce tenderloin with a combination of scallops, shrimp and lobster, and a garlic herb butter sauce for $65.99, and that's for 2 dinners. All other dinners, buy one, get one free, including the steak and lobster. Top it off with a great dessert. They're also buy one, get one free. And sip on a delicious old-fashioned Manhattan, 20 bourbons, 100 wines, ice-cold draft beer, and you'll love the 7 wood-burning fireplaces. The Fox and Hounds, winners of the Top Choice Award for Fine Dining and Most Romantic Restaurant. I love it. It's just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the Holy Hill Shrine. Beautiful drive. Reserve now for your Valentine's Day tenderloin and seafood dinner for 2 for $65.99. FoxandHoundsRestaurant.com.
It's WTMJ Now.
Hope you're enjoying the legal hour here on WTMJ Now. Having a lot of fun with my 2 guests, former U.S. Attorney for Southeastern Wisconsin, Jim Santel, and a local attorney here who's argued a lot of cases in Wisconsin, redistricting and recall. Matt O'Neill joining us. All right, so, gentlemen, in Fulton County, Georgia, there's the case, and then there's all the other stuff.
There's the sideshow also,
we're talking
right?
about the District Attorney Fannie Willis, Nathan Wade, the prosecutor, apparently had an affair or having an affair. I'm not sure where that stands. Don't really care. I guess the question for me is, does that have impact on the actual case, Jim?
The very short answer, surprising from me, is no, it should not.
And why? I guess why shouldn't? I'll play devil's advocate.
Absolutely, right? And I understand this in the court of public opinion also, and we're spending a lot of time talking about it appropriately. The answer is that 2 grand juries in Georgia looked at this and returned this sweeping indictment, this RICO indictment, many, many defendants, including the one who brought this particular motion, saying that because of this defendant's discovery of this relationship, which apparently continues, Fani Willis did, to her credit, file again this omnibus brief just last week saying, yes, I'm in a relationship with the fellow prosecutor here. He says because of that internal office relationship, my case against me should be dismissed. That is not only a bridge too far, there's no connection there. And so that's why I say no. That's not to say that the judge is not going to entertain the motion to dismiss. He's got a hearing coming up, and he's going to address the extent to which those internal personnel issues have an impact upon the substantive prosecution going forward.
Yeah, it's a laughable argument to say the case should be dismissed. It's not a laughable argument to say that one or the other of the 2 prosecuting attorneys should be taken off the case, or both. That's a legitimate argument. I think it's a loser. But love is love. It happens. But it has nothing to do with the prosecution or the merits of the prosecution. What I think will happen is that Mr. Wade will resign from his post, and they'll move forward with the case.
Especially in a situation where, again, so high profile, whether it goes to trial this year, more likely even next during the post-election period. You just don't want this, as I said before, this sideshow going on. You don't need that as a prosecutor. You don't need that for the public's integrity, if you will. And so get rid of the issue and move on with the substance.
Will it delay the start of the trial?
It should not. Again, the judge, I assume, will have this hearing, and he can rule fairly expeditiously on this and say, you know what's going on, the internal issues, you've got to resolve those. Those are not things for judicial consideration, and then move on. Not to say that will not continue to be a subject of discussion, but it should not address the timing of the trial itself. The larger issue there is this huge indictment, right? RICO across the board, massive indictment, and that's the one where Fani Willis has said, we're ready to start, but unlikely that will finish any time in 2024.
Is that the richest? I mean, that's not the right word. It's got. I've read through this thing. I mean, just so much detail.
Out of the 4 prosecutions, it is the one, if you only had to read one, it's the one indictment to read because it covers the entire scope of what was happening once the election results came in all the way to the very end of when Joe Biden was finally sworn in. And it does so exhaustively. It does so, I think, narratively very well. But of all the cases, it's one that captures everything.
Right. Including the fake electors, for example, those kinds of things, the so-called Chesbro Memorandum, the Wisconsin Memorandum.
This linked to Wisconsin?
Absolutely, right. All those things, as Matt just said, they are in there. There are a bunch of pages at the very end that are just the charging counts. But the first portion of it, as you said, it's a talking indictment, and you can read it and understand what happened.
Yeah, actually, I've read a lot of these charges against Donald Trump for the various cases. This one is the easiest to read, I thought.
I think so.
It's a long read, but it's laid out pretty well, bullet points, and I actually enjoyed reading it because you actually know what you're talking about. Our guests, Jim Santel, Matt O'Neill. After the break, I'm going to throw some quick hitters at you guys because you're smart, and I want to just hear your answers without me preparing you for those questions. We'll see how they do after this on WTMJ Now.
WTMJ Now.
Creative Planning presents Rethink Your Money with John Hagenson, Saturday afternoon at 1. Creative Planning is a wealth management firm that believes in a total approach to building wealth that includes taxes, insurance, estate planning, and other personalized elements. This approach allows you to receive advice that is aligned with your unique goals and always in your best interests. Why not give your wealth a second look? Visit creativeplanning.com.
Home and auto insurance continues to get more turbulent. Here's Jeff Salasinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Thank you, Vince. It's hard to remember a time when the home and auto insurance market was this complex. Insurance companies are getting out of the personal insurance business altogether. The cumulative effect of inflation on home repairs, auto repairs, and used cars is staggering. Higher deductibles are being applied to roofs for perils like wind and hail, meaning more out-of-pocket expense for the consumer. Insurance companies are extremely focused on writing only profitable new business and raising premiums to cover the increased cost of claims.
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
As a business insurance top 100 firm, our deep industry knowledge and our team of professionals carefully and accurately design insurance programs that protect our clients and their most valuable assets while being competitive on price. At R&R Insurance, we know home and auto insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
When you're due for tire service, visit richlawns.com for the location nearest you.
We'll give you a free flat tire repair on every tire we install. No questions asked. I'm Brett Matchke with Rich Lawns. You're due for service.
Rich Lawns.
Meet Alan, who was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
I was what they call a mouth breather, and I would breathe at night with my mouth open.
And for about 8 years, Alan struggled with a CPAP machine. And then
I saw the Advent commercial, and I thought, well, what do you got to lose? This machine is miserable.
For most people, CPAP machines are miserable, but a simple breathing triangle solution from Advent can be life-changing.
And it really was, to me, it was amazing because I don't think I ever breathed that clear.
This is Dr. Buthan Kandula. After having one of Advent's simple breathing triangle procedures, people are amazed at how freely and clearly they can breathe.
I'm happy with the procedure. I'm very glad I did it. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. I could have avoided that machine I had to have laying next to the bed with the hose wrapped around my head.
Schedule your appointment at AdventKnows.com because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. WTMJ Now.
Great hour with attorney Matt O'Neill, partner in law firm of Fox, O'Neill and Shannon here in Milwaukee. And, of course, Jim Santel, former U.S. attorney for southeastern Wisconsin. I've worked with Jim for 12-plus years. Both guys are great gentlemen and smart guys, which is why we have done this hour. So some sort of attorney to lay person, all the casual listeners out there. This one, I've always been curious about this. You know your client's guilty, and you're asked to defend somebody that's guilty. You know he's guilty. I guess that's the first question. If you know he's guilty, you still have to defend him. How does that work exactly?
So you have to respect the system, and our system is built on the requirement that the government prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And your job then, and your client has a right to defend him or herself and make the government prove its case, and that is solely your job. You are not the decider. You are not the jury. You are simply an advocate for a person who is upholding their rights, and that's the only way you can approach that.
Is it hard to do? When you know someone is guilty of the thing that they're being accused of?
It's not. It might change the zeal with which you defend the case, and it might change the trepidation you face when the jury's coming back with a verdict. You might not be that nervous, but it doesn't affect your function.
Strong endorsement of what Matt just said, which is the system works based upon defense counsel putting people, formerly like me, to the test and making certain that Mr. Santel provides evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to this jury, and the jury comes back, if they do it all, and finds unanimously that the defendant committed that crime.
All right, another quick hitters. As a layperson, not an attorney, will we, all of us Americans who aren't attorneys, know more about the legal system at the end of 2024 than we do now? And is that useful information?
Yes, 100%. We're going to watch at least these 4 cases and more of them play themselves out in the public, reported every day, and people are going to find out, I say it again and again, our system works. And it is going to build the respect of people in this country that our system is strong and that it works. You'll see.
And I think we already do. We've already talked about what a search warrant is. We did the Mar-a-Lago search warrant. Let's talk about where a search warrant comes from. That's authorized by a judge. No president can do that. No prosecutor can do that alone. Let's talk about where an indictment comes from. That's 26 people pulled from the community. They come in, review the evidence, determine whether, again, by a probable cause, there was a reason to go forward with indictment. All those kinds of civics things we are learning, and we already have.
Explain this to me. Of all the groups I talk to, I respect attorneys the most. But when I see public opinion polling about popularity of attorneys, it's often very low. It's not car salesman low, but it's low. Why is that?
Oh, because we talk too much. And I think everybody sees attorneys on TV always trying to get your business and pick you up if you've just fallen down outside your front steps. And people are worried about being pigeonholed or subject to a bogus case. So we earn a bit of it.
The great majority of attorneys out there, in my experience, and Matt's as well, are outstanding people who have the interests of justice.
I agree.
Of their clients at heart. What you do get, of course, and this is not to be critical of the media, you do get the focuses upon the Rudy Giulianis and others out there who are subject to disciplinary proceedings for doing what? For lying, right? And they should be responsible for that. That is a tip of, not a tip of an iceberg. That's the lowest portion of an iceberg, not representative of the bar.
I probably know the answer, but if an attorney lies in front of a judge or a jury in a case, that attorney can be gone after, right?
You can be disbarred.
Absolutely.
That is an absolute violation of an ethical rule, and one that subjects you to disbarment if proved.
Right. You can never cross that line, and there are times when you've got to back away from representation. If indeed your client is asking you to make a representation, you go to the judge and say, Judge, I need to withdraw because I cannot violate that oath.
I'll end it with this. I wish the same rule applied to politicians because they lie every day. Gentlemen, Matt O'Neill, Jim Santel, absolute pleasure. Great hour.
Great to be here with you, Steve.
All right, the news is next on WTMJ.
More of WTMJ now after this.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes won't slow us down. Allergies, high blood pressure, shoulder pain, cancer. Nothing will keep us from pushing Wisconsin ahead. Because with the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, forward progress is what we stand for. That means always pushing and always innovating. With new technologies and breakthrough treatments that make life better, whether we're sick or well. It means providing more convenience and more ways to receive medical excellence for all your health needs, for big and small. It means being there for you, our family, caring for yours. So let's keep raising the bar. Let's keep testing the limits of what medicine can do. Let's push ahead and make life here as great as it can be. Visit Froedtert.com to find out how.
Tonight, the hunters become the hunted.
Bobby Portis sinks his talons into the offensive board and lays it right back up and in.
The Bucks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves with our coverage of the game starting tonight at 6 with Bucks Shoot Around on your home for the Bucks. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 10 o'clock, it is 44 degrees. The high today, 52. There is a chance for rain and maybe even a strong storm later on today and into this evening. Something to pay attention to. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Eric Bilstead. History on the High Court.
We'll hear argument this morning in case 23-719, Trump versus Anderson.
The U.S. Supreme Court hearing arguments right now over whether former President Donald Trump can be banned from the ballot in Colorado. Now, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled Trump can be removed under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution to his connection to January 6th. Now, the measure bars any officer found guilty of insurrection from running for public office. Similar legal challenges are playing out in other states. That's why the ruling for this could be so important. ABC's Gian Santucci.
The reality is if Donald Trump is thrown off the ballot in one state, could it be something that gets repeated in other states? 34 other states have had situations like this, haven't been successful outside of Colorado or Maine. And Colorado is the first test case that is gotten to the Supreme Court at this magnitude. We haven't had a case like this since Bush versus Gore in 2000.
No word on how long it will take the High Court to rule on this case. Here at home, Milwaukee fire crews dealing with a deadly fire this morning on the south side. This happened at a senior citizen apartment complex near 22nd and Layton. The fire's out. Crews remain on the scene, though. TMJ4 News reporting that a deputy fire chief is confirming that one person was killed. 2 others were taken to a hospital for evaluation. Again, no word on what caused that fire at that senior citizen apartment complex near 22nd and Layton. A woman from Milwaukee charged with chronic child neglect and false imprisonment will be sentenced today. Katie Koch is 34 years old, arrested in 2023 last summer after her children were found near 71st and Dixon. They were naked, filthy, had gotten out of the house, broken a window to escape. That, according to prosecutors. The criminal complaint says it was a terrible hoarding situation in the home. There was feces covering the walls in that house near 71st and Dixon. Koch's boyfriend also facing charges. Again, sentencing for her is later today. Federal funds for domestic abuse shelters and courtroom advocacy are set to drop by $700 million later this year.
Attorney General Josh Kaul is leading an effort to stop that and says the funds are already low.
Over a many-year period, there's been a drop in the funds that are coming in, and that has resulted in the share being allocated to each state being reduced.
In Wisconsin, about 70% of the funds could disappear. Canopy Center advocates for victims of child abuse. Executive Director Director Megan Henry.
If the unthinkable were to happen to someone that you love, you would want us and other agencies like ours there.
Jack Grau, WTMJ News.
The military confirming that 5 Marines were killed in a helicopter crash in a remote area in the mountains outside of San Diego. ABC's Matt Gutman is in Pine Valley.
Unclear what happened now, but we are at the tail end of a 3-day brutal storm which has dumped near record moisture on Southern California and California in general over the past 3 days, and you're seeing the tail end of it. And of course now they're going to have to recover and secure the bodies of these deceased soldiers.
Still trying to determine exactly what caused that. Of course, the weather, as you heard Matt say, was awful at that time. Time now for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Mixed bag on Wall Street at the moment. The Dow is down 83 to 38,593. The Nasdaq is up 50 to 15,806, and the S&P down 1 to 49,93. It is a great time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button now. Sports, traffic, and weather next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 10:03.
This report is sponsored by Diamonds Direct. Your love, their passion.
Show your love this Valentine's with exquisite fashion jewelry from Diamonds Direct and save an extra 20%. Now through Valentine's, all fashion favorites at Diamonds Direct are on sale. All earrings, all bracelets, all necklaces, stackable bands, colored gemstone jewelry, and more. Lots of romantic and timeless gifts for under $500. Special financing available too. Don't miss this. An extra 20% savings on all fashion jewelry favorites at Diamonds Direct. Shop in store or online at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
WTMJ's John Mercure here for senior real estate specialist Bruce and Jean Nemovitz. If you've been holding off on selling your home or downsizing your parents' home, now's the time to contact Bruce and Jean. You deserve to enjoy the lifestyle you've earned. Learn how their team will guide you every step of the way. Join me at their free in-person seminar, March 5th, Berner Botanical Gardens. Doors open at 8:30, and you'll get critical info from local senior community representatives. Register at brucesteam.com, taking you from overwhelmed to I can do this. brucesteam.com.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone. Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations. Brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp. And new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
The road was certainly unkind to the Milwaukee Bucks, but perhaps the comforts of home will help. That tonic begins tonight against Minnesota at Fiserv Forum. Buck Shooter on at 6 p.m. gets things started for the 7 p.m. tip-off here on 620 WTMJ. Bucky is in a bad place right now after losing to a bad team, the worst in the Big Ten last night. Michigan upset Wisconsin 72-68. Wolverines out-rebounded the Badgers and outshot Wisconsin from outside the arc. The Milwaukee Panthers draw the Penguins at Youngstown State tonight on the road. You can catch the game on our sister station, 101.7 FM, The Truth, tonight at 5:30 with Scott Warris on the call. And the Brewers will have another catcher in camp who brings a big bat after free agent Gary Sanchez inks a one-year deal. Sanchez was with San Diego and the Mets last season. His best years came with the New York Yankees, where he hit 30-plus home runs twice in 6 seasons. I'm Bob Bradard, WTMJ Sports.
WTMJ, Johnson & Sons Paving, time saver traffic. Right now, roads are looking good in and out of the city. 4145 South, Highway Q to the Zoo. Delay free getting into the Zoo. 94 eastbound, Highway 16 all the way into downtown is delay free as well. 43 southbound, no real issues from Brown Deer Road into the Marquette. That should be a standard trip. And 94 northbound is looking delay free from Layton into downtown.
Traffic is sponsored by the Amazing Mineshaft Restaurant in downtown Hartford.
The successful Fox and Hounds and Mineshaft restaurants are hiring friendly, people-oriented servers. You'll make real cash, full or part-time, and always busy. Inquire today, start next week.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast. Breezy, midday showers are expected. Could see a storm, maybe even some severe weather potentially this evening. A high of 52 degrees today. Tonight, storms, otherwise cloudy, some breeziness as well, a low of 44. Friday looks dry, breezy. The high is 51 on Friday, but that temp will fall later on. Saturday, maybe a snowy mix, a winter mix to the south, otherwise a high of 38. Sunday, a high of 38. Monday, a high of 38 degrees. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 46. I'm Eric Bilstead, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:08.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's WTMJ Now. News, opinions, Wisconsin. Everything you need to know in the Badger State and beyond. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
And good morning, Wisconsin and beyond. Thanks for taking the time. Lots of great feedback on our opening hour, so get used to that. We're going to do a lot more of that in 2024. As much as I love talking to smart people, and we had two of them in the studio, Matt O'Neill and Jim Santel. And we're going to break it down in different ways. Journalists, people who write about politics, public safety experts like Annie Schwartz, and folks who actually work in public safety. And, of course, our great strategists, Bill McCoshen and Joe Zepecki. That's what we're going to do here. Because we've had a preponderance of nonsense that's kind of filled in all the gaps in our country and our culture, and it's resulted in a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and, frankly, blanket stupidity. I'm not putting up with it. So I want to sort of clear the air. Let's look at things that actually exist in the world of reality. Which leads me to a piece of audio I want to play. This is from a U.S. Senator. He is from the state of Oklahoma. His name is James Lankford. He is a Southern Baptist minister, a U.S. Senator, Republican, and he's been representing the state of Oklahoma since 2015. And he is somebody who had a lot to say in a speech. I'm only going to give you about a minute 40 of it, but I thought it was one of the most powerful speeches I've ever heard, given his background, given his disappointments, which I share, in the actual work. And I saw more idiocy from U.S. senators and congressmen in the last couple of days on social media than I think I've ever seen before. I think Senator James Lankford cuts through all of that.
Madam President, I'm going to vote yes to be able to move on to this bill. So we need a change in the law. I understand we have differences, but we've got to sit down together, figure out how we're going to solve problems, because the American people sent us here to do that. This is the pen that I was handed at that desk when I was sworn in to the United States Senate. And I signed a book that was at that desk with this pen because I was becoming a United States Senator. Because the people at home sent me here to get stuff done and to solve problems. There's no reason for me to have this pen if we're just going to do press conferences. I can do press conferences from anywhere, but we can only make law from this room. And to do that, you need one of these pens. And there's 100 of them in this room, and 60 of us have to agree to solve a problem. And I'm determined to sit down with anyone who wants to solve the problem, regardless of what side of the aisle that they're on, to figure out how we solve these things. Because Americans are ticked off that this is not resolved. And they expect us to get things done. So why don't we do that?
And I played that for a reason. That might be the most clear, concise minute 40 of audio I've ever played on this show. And we are frustrated. We are angry out here. Some of us for misguided reasons. Some of us for the reason that we elect people to go to Washington, D.C., or Madison for that matter, in Wisconsin. And they're writing press releases. They're showing up on TV. My goodness. Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, he might as well work in the media. He votes no on everything and goes on Fox News or OAN or Newsmax and then talks about himself for 20 minutes. What are you actually doing? And I'm not just picking on Senator Ron Johnson. There's a bunch of other people. But he is a senator who said we have a crisis at the border. And when a bipartisan effort, not perfect, nothing is perfect, especially in Washington. I mean, again, one of the reasons I played that clip, he's a Baptist minister and a senator who's asking his colleagues to stop the noise and the nonsense and just do your damn jobs. And yet I get text after text, caller after caller say, this isn't a perfect bill. We want a perfect bill. Nothing is perfect that comes out of Washington, D.C., ever. It's a start. And I'm not going to let U.S. Senator Ron Johnson or anybody else who says it's a crisis and refuses to act on it. That's not doing your job. And for anybody out there who's been in a real life situation where a crisis occurs, whatever that is, personal, work, whatever, you don't get the right press releases. You don't get to go on TV and just talk about it. You have to deal with it in the real world. And for some crazy reason, I use the word crazy on purpose, we are now handing over our protection, our safety, our resources to individuals who are non-serious politicians who are frankly more interested in being on TV. That is shameful. It's wrong. And I applaud Senator Langford for saying that. And one of the things I do, because I've been accused of being too hard on Republicans. You want to be a Republican? Do your damn job. And now, in Wisconsin, to take it to our own states, Mike Gallagher, who voted against the impeachment for Secretary Mayorkas, is now apparently being threatened on talk radio and all over the place, social media, with a recall or to be primaried, probably more specifically. Are you serious? So we're at a point now in this country where if someone disagrees with you, they got to go. My way or the highway. Shameful. If you have a thought, 855-616-1620. I got plenty. More after this.
More of WTMJ now after this.
This is WTMJ's Sandy Max with a brand new show called What's on Tap. Weeknights at 6, you're invited to join me to take a deeper dive into culture and creativity here in Wisconsin and around the world. Tap into all kinds of entertainment and recreation with me, from music, theater, film, food, and uniquely Wisconsin traditions and landmarks. So pique your curiosity and join me for What's on Tap. And be sure to catch the podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Heiser Automotive. I love talking about Heiser. I'm driving a beautiful 2023 Ford Explorer XLT. It's a awesome Atlas blue metallic color, 4-wheel drive. We're not having a winter, but if we had a winter, it'd be perfect for the upcoming weather we're supposed to have. Great gas mileage, by the way, 23 combined city and highway. Lots of room, lots of elbow room, which I love in a vehicle. The XLT has all the cool features. The heated exterior mirrors, which is really cool when it's icy, and we've had a lot of that this year. Roof rails, keyless access. I use this one every day. Heated front seats, second row captain chairs, upgraded interior trim, all the safety features you expect with a great Ford product. Find out for yourself. Go to Heiser. Check out all the great vehicles, pre-owned and new, at 5 great locations, or go to Heiser.com. All the vehicles listed there. You can see the pricing. Never charging over MSRP. They are a great customer service company. We're going to be buying a car from Heiser in the next few months. That's the commitment I make. That's the commitment they make. That's why they say every day at Heiser, today's your day.
Brewers win!
Get more from your live baseball experience with the 2024 Brewers Ticket Plan. On sale now. Don't miss more exclusive Brewers season seat holder rewards, like your very own batting practice session, more can't-miss action, and more access to the game you love. It's your ticket to being a VIP Brewers fan this season. Plus, you'll enjoy savings on ticket prices you can't get anywhere else. Learn more at brewers.com/ticket plans.
Dan, what do you think are the top 3 reasons people buy from us at Inspired Closets?
Katie, that's easy. Our 3D design software, 4 ironclad guarantees, and our lifetime warranty.
Plus, we're honest and transparent in our pricing. We don't over-design. And we're a local family-owned business.
Clients need to know that we are a different closet company. We are designed completely around them.
And we're a wife and husband team.
Visit us at inspiredclosetsmke.com.
It's WTMJ Now.
Texas said, why do you hate Ron Johnson, Senator of Florida? I don't hate Ron Johnson. I actually have a lot of respect for Ron when he focused on his job. Ron Johnson, Senator of Wisconsin, was one of the few people on the Republican side who said, you know what, this deficit problem is exploding. I went to see a couple of his presentations before it was ever on the radio. That's the Ron Johnson I know. The Ron Johnson who is essentially doing TV appearances and voting no on everything that comes in front of the Senate is really no use to me. To expect every bill that has to be perfect to get your acceptance, to get your signature, to get your vote is silly and not worth our time. Scott joins us from South Milwaukee. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hi, good morning, Steve. Yeah. Just first of all, on the speech that Senator Langford gave yesterday, I listened to it, whatever, and I stopped to listen to it, whatever, because it was one of those speeches, whatever, that's going to go down in the analogs of U.S. Senate history, whatever, as a classic speech, and people are going to be replaying that one for a very, very long time. And whatever, and like I said, in your discussion, you talked about Senator Johnson and Mike Gallagher. I would like to talk about Congressman Brian Stile. Congressman Brian Stile is no different, whatever, than Ron Johnson.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Because he votes no. He votes no on everything, whatever, in accordance with whatever House leadership, whatever tells him. House GOP leadership tells him to vote. You go to his community forums, whatever, that he hosts. He never answers a question. He dodges the tough issues. Brian Stile is nothing more whatever than a man in an empty suit, period. Right. Whatever. And what I would like to see, whatever, is for the American people, I would like to see a 1 million man march on Washington, D.C., specific to this issue, and the American people demand that Congress get something done when it comes to this topic.
Thanks for the call, Scott, calling from South Milwaukee. Let's get Matt in here, calling from Wauwatosa. Hey, Matt.
Hey, I don't know. I think that your perspective on this is wrong. I appreciate your saying that Congress has the ability to solve these problems, but Congress, specific to the border problem, did not create the problem. Under the last administration, everything was kosher at the border, no problems, lowest levels of illegal immigration in decades. Biden comes in and creates executive orders, not laws, executive orders, which worsened the problem at the border. Biden could solve that with a pen tomorrow and rescind all of the executive orders that he put in place that created this problem. But what he's doing is the old Washington two-step, and he's creating a political problem. Then he's going to leverage that problem to get other things that he wants, like money for Ukraine and Israel. But that's disgusting. That people are really in a lot of trouble down on the border, and it's the cause of that is Joe Biden's policies.
Let me just interrupt you briefly, Matt. I'll let you stay on the line. I'm going to interrupt you briefly. So I both agree and disagree. I agree with you that Joe Biden made this problem worse with his executive orders, and he could rescind those, and I think he should. But the laws of the land should not, although they are with executive actions, be created by a president. They should be created by a Congress. And I know that there's a problem at crisis at the border because everybody says there is, both Republican and Democrat. I know there's a crisis that requires legislation because both the House, with H.R. 2 passed in May of last year, said in like 100 bullet point piece of legislation that never went anywhere, but they passed, that there were these things that needed to be fixed. So legislation is required. That's a conservative bill in the House. Joe Biden's not perfect. I've said that over and over again. He's made the problem worse. Bottom line is, it wasn't perfect under Trump either. And stop saying that, because it's not true. It wasn't perfect. There's no zero-sum game here. It's a hard problem, complex problem that requires both sides, not one side, both sides to figure it out. I'll give you some time to respond, Matt.
I think you're being naive if you are, and when you're saying Joe Biden's not perfect, you're excusing him from the action, the intentional action that he took to create a problem where one didn't exist anywhere near the level that it was today. Second, I didn't say Trump was perfect. I said it was dramatically improved under him because he took action to solve that problem. There's a complete difference with regard to how both men handle the situation. One of them is doing exactly what you're urging Congress to do, which was he took positive action to solve an existing problem for the American people. The second person went out of his way to create a problem and then tried to leverage that into getting other political ambitions fulfilled. It's disgusting, and he's wrong. And so are you if you believe that Joe Biden is doing anything positive in this regard.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Let's get Rome in quickly. Hey, Rome.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Steve. And first of all, that guy's totally off base. I agree that Representative Gallagher and Langford, those guys are the real heroes in this world. And, I'm tired of people like the guy that just call in and want to make everything so sunny for Trump. I mean, it's not about Trump at this point. It's about what's right and wrong. And what they need to do is have some balls and go ahead on and make some choices and sign this thing so we can get on. They want this border thing to be their feather in their cap with the election. But now you can see the table's been turned, and they need to go ahead on and do what's best for the American people.
Thanks for the call, Rome. There's the argument in a nutshell, both sides. I never said Biden was perfect on this. He's made the problem worse. He ignored the border until, for political reasons, he had to do something about it. And the Congress of the United States, bipartisan, and I always look at the Congress this way, the Senate is grown-ups, the House is not grown-up. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of pretenders, performative politicians, a lot of nonsense. The Senate is more dignified. I think they actually understand their job in front of them, where the House, again, likes to entertain us as elected officials while we're paying their salaries for often not doing any work. Let's take a break here. I'm going to take a break here. We've got another segment on this, and we're going to have a shift in topics. We're going to talk about public safety with a really smart guy. That seems to be a theme of the show today. Rob Henkin will join us about 10:30, a public safety report on the community that we live in here, where we broadcast from. We'll take a quick break here. Tom from Columbus, you'll be up next on WTMJ.
More of WTMJ now after this.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. I hope you join me on Saturdays at noon for Experience Wisconsin. I love this show because we check in with communities across the state. We're going to take you to fun places where you learn a little bit, all around Wisconsin. This week, we're joined by O&H Danish Bakery.
And we have our traditional flavors, but we're always coming out with seasonal flavors, and we have some exciting new ones to talk about today.
And visit Kenosha. It's Experience Wisconsin, Saturdays at noon, right here on 620 WTMJ.
Hey, this is Steve Scaffidi for Adair Floors and Remodeling, South 27th Street in Franklin. They just did my basement floor. It looks fantastic. If you want to check it out, go to my social media, and you can see what it looks like before and after. They have a design team. I worked with them, ready to help with all your flooring and remodeling needs, whether it's your home or your business. Family owned and operated right there in Franklin, South 27th Street, south of Rawson Avenue, exit off 94, north of Highway 100, Ryan Road exit. Stop in, tell them what you need. They'll walk you through it, remodeling as well as flooring. Tell them Scaffidi sent you, or visit them online. Real easy. I did that first. AdairFloors.com.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button.
One of our senior loan consultants, Brad, sent them a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. They made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about AccuNet's new property-specific pre-approval, where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer, several $1,000s over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their property-specific rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included that most powerful phrase, no appraisal required, and the sellers picked Steve and Ashley's offer over several others. If you think all mortgage lenders and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with a local mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win and save money too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Lane's Farm and Fleet's big pet care sale is going on now, and that means huge savings on the food, treats, and supplies you need to help keep your pets happy and healthy. Not to mention a great variety of quality bird seed and suet to bring more birds to your yard all year long, like 20-pound bags of KT nut and fruit blend bird food, featuring a high-energy mix of 9 simple ingredients formulated to attract cardinals, chickadees, and other colorful songbirds, all for just $28.99.
Find value at Lane's Farm and Fleet. WTMJ Now.
Talking about the frustration a lot of Americans have with the border with Mexico and lack of action by Congress. Tom wants to weigh in from Columbus. It's going to be a short segment because I got a guest coming up quickly, but we'll get Tom in. He's been very patient. Hi, Tom.
Morning, Steve. Yeah, I'm so sick of Congress not doing the work. I mean, the executive order thing, okay, fine. Trump could have put the standing active military there, and Biden could have came in and taken it away and blah, blah, blah. Just Congress needs to redefine and re-legislate what exactly our immigration policies need to be for the people that are there now to say, well, we're not going to do anything until the new administration. You know, if my father would ask me to take out the trash and I would say, oh, Christmas is next week, it's going to be really heavy, let me wait.
Yeah.
No. Of course, Trump's numbers went down, particularly the last year, because every damn border in the world was shut down because of C-19. And to say there were no problems under Trump at the border is pie in the sky. It's always been an issue. You've had Republicans running all over the country for 10 years yelling, the borders are wide open, the borders are wide open. People fled to the border. Gee, I wonder why. They've been being told it by half of our political system for 10 years.
Got to leave it there, Tom, but thanks for the passion, man. I love the passion. Look, this is a complex issue. Don't dumb it down by spouting talking points that you hear on TV, whatever TV that is. It makes you sound dumber. Should we fix the border problem? Absolutely. Should we wait for a year? Absolutely not. Quick break.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Welcome to our Everyday Health feature brought to you by the Freighter to the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death for men and women in the United States. Fortunately, there are steps you can take to reduce your risk. Here to talk about heart and vascular conditions and treatment options is Dr. Stefano Skena, a cardiothoracic surgeon from the nationally recognized Fredericton MCW Heart Team. Thank you so much for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start with this. What are common risk factors for heart disease?
Risk factors include those that can not be controlled by patient, such as a strong family history of cardiovascular disease, and then factors that can be managed by either through medications or appropriate change in lifestyle, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, lack of exercise, poor diet, history of smoking, including vaping, and or heavy alcohol consumption, and last but not least, advanced age.
When should someone see a cardiologist? How do they know?
Well, a cardiologist should be seen upon recommendation provided by a primary care physician if you have the risk factors mentioned above, including the strong family history or a suspicion that a heart condition might be ongoing. The cardiologists have a specialty training not only in advising but also in treating diseases of the heart.
Dr. Stefano Scena is with us. What heart conditions does your team treat?
We are fortunate to work in a quaternary center here at Fredericton Medical College of Wisconsin, so we do treat all heart conditions from common to complex, stemming from coronary artery disease, heart valve disease affecting any type of valve, aortic disease, heart failure, and last but not least, the most common arrhythmias such as atrial fibrillation.
Dr. Stefano Scena, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Find a doctor who's right for you by visiting freighter.com/heart.
It's WTMJ Now.
I said earlier on the show today, this is a show filled with a lot of smart people. I have great guests today, and this is one of those. My friend Rob Henkin, who runs the Wisconsin Policy Forum, and they put out great reports, and this one is near and dear to me because I spend an hour of the program every week talking about public safety. First of all, welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Steve.
You did a report on, well, what's the name of the report? It's Under Pressure, right?
Under Pressure.
And it looked at, is it Milwaukee or both Milwaukee and Milwaukee County?
We started with a county-wide lens, but for so many of the metrics that we looked at that were really important, we then drilled down into Milwaukee.
And I guess the subject line would be our response, Milwaukee County's justice system's recovery after COVID-19. So let's lay out a few baseline findings that you discovered while you're looking at this.
Sure. So yeah, the key research question was, arguably there's no element of local or state government, for that matter, that intuitively would have been more impacted by the pandemic. When you think about the person than the court system and the justice system, when you think about the personal interaction that needs to take place between police officers and citizens, between public defenders and prosecutors and witnesses and victims and so forth, when you think about the need for juries and courts. So no question that the justice system was hit hard by the pandemic. Our research question was, by the end of 2022, to what extent had things recovered?
I like the fact that you looked at the sort of the three-legged stool, right? So we have the enforcement side of it, offenses and arrests. We certainly have the DA's office, things that are charged or not charged. And then, of course, the Milwaukee County Circuit Court, what happens in the courtrooms. And that's the piece that still lags the pandemic, right?
Yeah. So some of the most interesting findings were, for the Milwaukee Police Department, what is happening with arrests for both more serious Part 1 crimes and less serious Part 2 crimes. We also saw some interesting trends with regard to the district attorney. But it's the courts where we really have, at least as of the end of 2022, and we've begun to see data for 2023, a backlog of felony cases in the circuit court. Little progress had been made by the end of 2022, and that was actually counter to the misdemeanor side, where considerable progress had been made in erasing that backlog.
Since I've had conversations with people in and around the court system, the argument has been we're short-staffed. There was a backlog. Is that the argument that you heard?
Without question. And there was really undoubtedly a double whammy here. The pandemic, quite a whammy, but then coming out of the pandemic with high rates of inflation and a historically tight labor market, staffing challenges that the courts have there's always been staffing challenges with regard to district attorneys and public defenders, but everything from court reporters to bailiffs to everybody who's instrumental in the operations of the courts, there were considerable job openings.
In that component of this problem, take the staffing out. What did you find?
So, I think, first of all, one of the things we found is that all of this is an ecosystem. So to the extent that you have disruption in one part of the pipeline, you're going to face consequences on other ends of the pipeline. So in the case of the courts, again, considerable effort was made to reduce both the misdemeanor backlog and the felony backlog. And the success on the misdemeanor side stems in part from the fact that those are less complicated cases. We're seeing so many factors that are influencing the amount of time that it takes to resolve a case. So some are staffing shortages, clearly. Some are the impacts of the pandemic. But, for example, the use of video evidence and how much longer it takes for both defense attorneys and prosecutors to review reams and reams of video evidence is causing issues.
Interesting. Technology doesn't speed it up. It slows it down.
Exactly. In this case, it does. And so there's a convergence of all sorts of factors. And I think what it speaks to going forward is, we could blame the pandemic justifiably as we started to emerge in 2021 and 2022 and the beginning months of 2023. But are we now at a point where there's really a need for a new, fresh look at what is it going to take to handle the caseload and the workload?
Let's go to the DA's office. This is probably the most politically charged, well, maybe not. Law enforcement, public safety is also up there on that meter in the public's eyes. So the DA's office, declining arrests, number of referrals to the DA's office dropped by 13.9% from 2018 to 2022. What are we reading from that?
Well, so we can get into a whole conversation, which I know we will, about MPD. But in terms of the district attorney, so it's not surprising that then the number of charges flowing out of the district attorney's office also declined. But what was striking is we looked at the charge rate. So of those cases being referred to district attorneys for potential prosecution, the charge rate, which was for felonies, for example, was at 49% in 2017.
So regardless of the number that are coming, the percentage of things that were actually charged is lower.
Yes, dropping from about 49% in 2017 to about 40% in 2022.
That's an interesting one. So what does that tell you?
Well, again, it gets back to this ecosystem. So it could tell us a lot of things. One thing that was cited was not only job vacancies in the district attorney's office, they've been much more successful than the public defender in filling those vacancies, but less experienced prosecutors may be less likely to charge. But even more important, some of the difficulties facing the Milwaukee Police Department, the lack of time that officers have for proactive policing and investigatory work has an impact then on the cases that are brought to prosecutors and their ability to charge.
So the case dismissed rate goes up.
Right. So charges down, we observe the case dismissals up. And now the good news is there, Steve, and we haven't had a chance to report this yet, but in talking to officials from the district attorney's office in 2023, these trends began to reverse themselves and again approach the pre-pandemic levels in terms of the charging rate.
So let's go to where it all starts. People committing offenses and arrests. The numbers from 2018 to 2020, looking at offenses, we were at about 43 to 46,000 annually before jumping to 54,000 in 2021. And then declining back down to 46,000, almost 47,000 in 2022. Driven by one type of, it's bolded in your report, so I'm going to read it. One type of serious crime, motor vehicle theft. That's pretty telling.
Yes. So I don't think we're breaking any news here. There was an escalation, sharp escalation of motor vehicle thefts in 2021. And so again, combine that with some of the impacts of the pandemic and you have other cascading effects. The good news is that has come down. And so one of the real interesting things here that is if you just looked at 2022, compared that to pre-pandemic 2018 and 19, offenses are only up slightly countywide. But when you look at arrests, and here we honed in specifically on the Milwaukee Police Department, comparing 2022 to 2018, there was a 37% drop in Part 1 crime arrests. Those are more serious crimes, and a whopping 61% drop in less serious Part 2 arrests.
Okay, so manpower is part of it, right? Pandemic is part of it.
Yes.
Is there another piece that we're missing?
We think there's all sorts of pieces here.
All right, let's walk through those.
Yeah. So clearly, and so one of our next pieces of research that we hope to get to very soon is, are we unique among our peer cities across the country? The George Floyd protests obviously happened in the summer of 2020, and a question is whether that had some impact on police-citizen contacts and possibly arrests. Couple that with what happened here in Milwaukee. There was a very important legal settlement in a case brought by the ACLU and other parties that said that MPD was violating people's constitutional rights in some of their stop and frisk policies and other policies. So there's a legal settlement that requires officers to do a lot more to document and justify traffic stops, arrests, et cetera. Did that have some type of a perhaps justifiable chilling impact? But I think another very important finding here is that emergency calls for service have escalated. This is a trend that's been going up for years. And what it has produced is officers spending more time responding to calls, to emergency calls, having less time to just do regular patrols, to talk to people on the streets, to develop contacts. And that has certainly a consequence in terms of their ability to make arrests.
And that last part, the last tenet of what you just said is that's the key point of community policing. If you don't have those one-on-one or small group conversations, it makes it a lot harder to have that relationship with your community. I'm going to take a break here. We're joined by Rob Henkin from the Wisconsin Policy Forum. I know this is all connected. Interconnected was a word that appears in your report a lot. So as we look at this problem of public safety, we have at least I've been told, more people doing the job. We're going to have a change in the DA in Milwaukee. There's an election coming up, and DHism is retiring. And I've been told, because I've talked to judges and attorneys, that the workforce is increasing on that component of that. I want to talk about next steps and what we might see going forward on this really important public safety issue. Rob Henkin, my guest. We'll take a break here. You're listening, of course, to WTMJ Now.
Matt had just moved into his first apartment and needed furniture to fill it, but he didn't have a big credit line. So I told him about St. Vincent de Paul. There's always a nice selection of gently used furniture there, and sometimes you can find some really cool retro pieces. And the best part is, it's always super affordable. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores for first-time furniture buyers or anyone looking for great deals on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for the Bath Authority. If your bath or shower is old, outdated, has mold or mildew, broken tiles, you got to call my friends at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a best-in-class, world-class customer experience. Their modern, durable tubs and showers are designed with an exclusive high-tech polymer liner. What that means to you? It's low maintenance, resistant to mold and mildew, easy to clean. That's a good one. And last, this is even more important, lasts for decades. Plus, get this, it comes with a lifetime warranty. I'll say it twice, thebathauthority.com. Yes, thebathauthority.com. For me, for you, a better bath awaits.
Better days start with a better night's sleep on a mattress from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in Milwaukee, our mattresses are custom built to your needs. We have all the comfort and firmness options to give you your best night's rest. Buying direct from our factory showrooms will save you up to 50% compared to national brands. Shop today during our New Year's sale at Ken Michaels Furniture for over 75 years of uncompromising quality, local factory direct saving, and your best night's sleep. Start the new year right with Norwalk Furniture on sale now at Ken Michaels Furniture. Save 35% on showroom pieces that are ready for immediate delivery, or in just 35 days, you can create a look that reflects your unique style with over 850 fabric and leather options and comfort levels, from cuddling to extra firm support. Norwalk Furniture's American roots go back over 102 years. For better quality American-made upholstery, shop the Norwalk Upholstery Sale at any Ken Michaels Furniture locations in Greenfield, Brookfield, or downtown.
Discover wants everyone to feel special with 24/7 customer service as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply.
Meet Alan, who was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
I was what they call a mouth breather, and I would breathe at night with my mouth open.
And for about 8 years, Alan struggled with a CPAP machine. And then
I saw the Advent commercial, and I thought, well, what do you got to lose? This machine is miserable.
For most people, CPAP machines are miserable, but a simple breathing triangle solution from Advent can be life-changing.
And it really was, to me, it was amazing because I don't think I ever breathed that clear.
This is Dr. Madan Kandula. After having one of Advent's simple breathing triangle procedures, people are amazed at how freely and clearly they can breathe.
I'm happy with the procedure. I'm very glad I did it. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. I could have avoided that machine I had to have laying next to the bed with the hose wrapped around my head.
Schedule your appointment at AdventKnows.com, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. AdventKnows.com. Results may vary.
WTMJ Now.
This hour, we're talking with Rob Henkin from the Wisconsin Policy Forum. Great report called Under Pressure, looking at the sort of the three-legged stool, my words, the enforcement side, certainly the charging side, and the court side of this public safety. I don't want to say crisis, but that's a term that a lot of people use. Rob, so let's look at the key findings of the report and then maybe some of the conversations you're having ongoing about what we do about these numbers.
So again, what stands out here in particular are areas where trends that we're observing, which are quite significant, actually started before the pandemic, so can't really be attributed to the pandemic. And there we see, again, the drop in arrests, which actually started a couple years before the pandemic. That's Milwaukee Police Department arrests. So that's a key one. And then also the backlog of cases in the courts, particularly with regard to felonies, which coming out of the pandemic really had not subsided as much as anybody would have liked to see.
All right, so you've had some recent conversations, the mayor of Milwaukee, the police chief, Jeffrey Norman, and then one of the aldermen, I think it was Spiker.
Yep.
What are they saying?
So had a very interesting conversation, public conversation at our annual meeting just last week. So first of all, some of these trends are now reversing themselves in the right direction. I mean, we can talk about the drop in arrests and, is a drop in arrests necessarily a bad thing? And what's the right equilibrium here? But we did see arrests start to tick upward in 2023. In terms of crime rates, we are seeing clearly violent crimes, particularly homicides, are still above pre-pandemic levels, but those two have started to come down. Reckless driving has now really emerged as the auto theft issue has subsided somewhat, though there too, auto thefts, while way down from the spike in 21, are still above pre-pandemic levels. Reckless driving is now a huge new priority, and city leaders believe that they're starting to see some progress there.
Of the three that you mentioned, and we were talking to the break, the mayor and the police chief and the alderman, is there a consensus of opinion, an agreement that this is still a work in progress? We have to fix these things.
I think there is, and I think there's a very interesting conversation, or at least interesting to we, the wonks at the Wisconsin Policy Forum, about how we are measuring success when it comes to public safety. Chief Norman raised a great point. He believes also that some of the reason we're seeing this decline in arrests is that under previous chiefs, Chief Ed Flynn in particular, who was very much about data, they actually kept tabs of the number of arrests that officers were making and used that as a means of reviewing officer performance. And I think few would disagree that sort of measuring officer performance on the number of arrests they're making may not be what we want to be doing here. Right. Is that going to result in unnecessary arrests?
Yeah, and Chief Flynn wasn't immune from criticism because one of his policies was to not, chase some of these people. And there's a lot of people, myself included, who think that contributed to the rise of reckless driving. Now, that's not the only answer, but that's certainly part of it.
Yep.
So every chief is different. When you look at all this data, do you as you put this stuff together, you get it? I probably are closer to it than you are. The frustration in the public. More officers they want on the street, and we're getting some of that. They want these people charged, and they want them convicted. That's the public's frustration. You're looking at data, but does the data tell you that story?
It does and it doesn't. I think, again, what's most telling here is this. I keep on hearkening back to it, but this ecosystem type of paradigm that we're in. When we look at why police officers have less time to do policing, one reason is this backlog in the courts, which has consequences because then there are more people being held in the county jail. And when there are more people being held in the county jail, that means that the Milwaukee Police Department must hold more people in their own holding cells at district stations because they can't go and book people at the jail as readily. And then you have officers spending time taking people to medical appointments who are being held at the district stations. Right. When they're at the jail. That's not happening. And that's documented. There's data points that MPD provided to us that shows that the number of medical runs by officers tripled in a recent year.
And I didn't mention it until now. The other piece that's important, I think it's an increase, a number of individuals who suffer from behavioral health disorders.
Without question, and that just adds to the time that it takes to process many cases.
They have to literally sit there. Yeah.
Yes. And when people are deemed unable to testify in their own behalf, there are certain steps that need to be taken. So there are all sorts of factors outside of public health emergencies and staffing shortages that also contribute to backlogs.
A texter asks, I'll ask you, is this report available for the public to look at?
It is. Just go to wispolicyforum.org or just Google Wisconsin Policy Forum. You'll find our website. There's a research tab. Type in under pressure and you'll see the report.
And having read the summary, it's pretty interesting stuff. And as with everything that you do at the Wisconsin Policy Forum, really detailed with data being the driver. Since I got a minute or two, I want to ask you a different question. You're working on another report about parks. Always a hot button topic in this part of the country, this part of the state. What are you going to be looking at?
Yep. So this is we've done several reports, as you know, on the parks over the years. This is one where we wanted to hone in specifically, actually at the urging of the County Parks Department, on two potential avenues to try to get at that tremendous infrastructure and maintenance backlog. And that is expanded partnerships with the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District and with municipal governments within the county. There have been some good examples of partnerships. The question is, can those be expanded, and what would it take to do so?
I'm a big fan of public-private. I think you know this from our previous conversations through the years. Is that part of something that Milwaukee County Parks are thinking about more and more of? I know they do things at the beer gardens and the like.
It is, and it's been like such a good news, bad news story for the parks. Without question, those public-private partnerships have expanded revenue streams.
Absolutely.
The problem is that because of the limited resources available for maintenance and for capital repairs, if your priority is on generating revenue, you need to focus your maintenance dollars on those parts of the park system that generate revenue, which means the parts that don't, that offer free and unfettered access for citizens. Those are the ones that are starting to really fall apart.
And the good news, I guess, on that equation is that the shared revenue package has finally given Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee a better-looking budget prognosis. Because I remember sitting at somewhere in Milwaukee listening to one of your presentations on how bad it looked for the next 10 to 12 years in this part of the state. And hopefully we're on an upward trend and not a downward one.
Without question. Never thought I would see as optimistic an outlook. It's still not great, but it's far more optimistic than it's been, at least in the last 25 years.
And for all those asking, yes, we'll have Rob back when he has his Parks report. That's not too far from now. Wisconsin Policy Forum always does great work, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. We'll take a quick break here. We'll wrap up the 10 o'clock hour. We got an exciting 11 o'clock hour as well with a great interview coming up with some folks from Marquette's. Busy day on the show today. Quick break.
More of WTMJ now after this.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. I hope you join me on Saturdays at noon for Experience Wisconsin. I love this show because we check in with communities across the state. We're going to take you to fun places where you learn a little bit, all around Wisconsin. This week, we're joined by O&H Danish Bakery.
And we have our traditional flavors, but we're always coming out with seasonal flavors, and we have some exciting new ones to talk about today.
And visit Kenosha. It's Experience Wisconsin, Saturdays at noon, right here on 620 WTMJ.
Home and auto insurance continues to get more turbulent. Here's Jeff Salasinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Thank you, Vince. It's hard to remember a time when the home and auto insurance market was this complex. Insurance companies are getting out of the personal insurance business altogether. The cumulative effect of inflation on home repairs, auto repairs, and used cars is staggering. Higher deductibles are being applied to roofs for perils like wind and hail, meaning more out-of-pocket expense for the consumer. Insurance companies are extremely focused on writing only profitable new business and raising premiums to cover the increased cost of claims.
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
As a business insurance top 100 firm, our deep industry knowledge and our team of professionals carefully and accurately design insurance programs that protect our clients and their most valuable assets while being competitive on price. At R&R Insurance, we know home and auto insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
Fleet Farm's got everything you need for everyday life. Brands from Carhartt to Milwaukee to Purina to Goodyear to Rapala to Levi's and a whole lot more. In-store or online, check out all the brands Fleet Farm carries to help make your everyday life better.
According to the U.S. debt clock, our debt is over $32 trillion and climbing. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? At Drake & Associates, we can help you create a plan so your retirement is tax efficient as possible. If you'd like to continue your education, we have our Retirement Ready Toolkit, which includes guides on retirement tax savings. To receive this complimentary toolkit, call or text TAX to 414-409-9982. That's calling or texting TAX to 414-409-9982. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call or text now.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, and SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC, a Wisconsin insurance agency. Clients are under no obligation to purchase any recommended insurance products.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. WTMJ Now.
Thanks for tuning in on this Thursday. Great show tomorrow, but before we get to tomorrow, we get the 11 o'clock hour. We got a giveaway. We have a great interview with the president of Marquette University. I have him on about once every 6 weeks or so. And he brought, as he always does, a great guest who's going to make the connection between academia and politics. A professor, political science. Her name is Amber Wachowski, and it's going to be a great conversation. I'm trying to look at this election at every possible angle, legal, certainly from the strategist's point of view, from the elected officials' point of view, writers about politics, and academics plays a role as well. It's supposed to make us smarter, right? We'll have that conversation. And then we're going to finish the show today. Wacky Super Bowl prop bets. Just weird bets. You can even bet that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce get engaged if they win the Super Bowl, the Chiefs. That's a wild one. I wonder which way I would bet on that. I would say no, too early. What do you think, Producer Charlie? Too early?
How long have they been dating?
6 months.
That's way too early.
Yeah. So I would, if I was going to bet, I'm not going to because I'm not in Vegas, but I would bet no on that. So we'll have some fun with that. There's some interesting bets out there. You can even throw me your Super Bowl thoughts. That's all coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, the big final hour of WTMJ Now. And just a little tease for you. Mr. Joe Zepecki's in today in the afternoon. I'm a guest on his program. How about that? I'm trying to think the last time I guested on somebody else's program. It's been a while. All that excitement and more after the news, which is next.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
People who suffer from arthritis are getting real pain relief with exciting biologic therapies at QC Kinetics.
The success rate is there, and there's no better way to treat yourself when it comes to dealing with pain.
Meet Tyler Vale, co-founder of QC Kinetics, who says they can't cure arthritis, but they can treat the pain.
If you think of the tide coming in and out on the beach and what it does, it erodes the sand, right? Can't stop the tide, but eventually when the sand or the beach gets bad enough, we backfill that beach with sand so that we get generations of enjoyment with that beach again. And the same thing happens with your knee or your shoulder or your hip or your back. We want to backfill the problems that have happened to this point. I'm not stopping the tide, so I'm not stopping the arthritis, but I want to get generations of enjoyment out of those joints again.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Learn more about how restorative biologic therapies can get you real and lasting joint pain relief.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
Tonight, the hunters become the hunted.
Bobby Portis sinks his talons into the offensive board and lays it right back up and in.
The Bucks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves with our coverage of the game starting tonight at 6 with Bucks Shoot Around on your home for the Bucks. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 11 o'clock, it is 47 degrees. The high today, 52, with some midday showers expected and maybe even a storm later this evening. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Eric Bilstead. History on the High Court.
Your eggs are really in the basket of the Electors Clause, really in the Article 1 basket, because you're saying that even though
Supreme Court justices are hearing a landmark case right now on whether former President Donald Trump is eligible to be on the primary secret ballot. The case stems out of Colorado and the High Court's decision in Colorado to exclude Trump, citing an anti-insurrection provision of the 14th Amendment.
One crucial element in the case is the definition of insurrection.
The attack was incited by a sitting president of the United States.
Attorney Jason Murray represents the voters challenging the former president.
By engaging in insurrection against the Constitution, President Trump disqualified himself from public office.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pressed Trump lawyer Jonathan Mitchell about the term insurrection.
All right, so why would this not be what is your argument that it's not?
He said this was a riot, not an insurrection.
The events were shameful, criminal, violent, but did not qualify as insurrection, as that term is used in Section 3.
Stacey Lynn, CBS News, Washington.
Here at home, a deadly fire on the south side. Fires out there at Layton Gardens Senior Apartments Complex. It's near 27th and Layton. One person killed in that fire. 2 others injured. Crews continue to investigate what caused it. Child reported missing in Waukesha County, one without vital medication.
16-year-old Isaiah Kramer was last seen Sunday evening near Maple Avenue and Center Drive in the village of Vernon. Isaiah requires daily medication that he does not have with him. The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office says there's nothing to indicate Isaiah left against his own will. Isaiah is described as a light-skinned black male, 5'9", 200 pounds, and was last seen wearing dark-colored sweatpants and a dark-colored hooded sweatshirt. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
A grocery store in Milwaukee closed until further notice following several health code violations. This from the Milwaukee Health Department, obtained by WTMJ. It indicates nearly 24 health code violations at the Cermak location in the Walker's Point neighborhood. During an inspection on Tuesday, that location will be closed until it's brought into compliance. Get ready for a star-studded parade of commercials at the Super Bowl Sunday.
How many celebrities can you pack into those Super Bowl ads?
Maybe a different beer?
No, Michelob Ultra. Data are expected to show even more than the 40% featured in last year's spots during the big game. And that was a 6-fold increase from 2010. That's messy.
What do you mean, Leo? We go way back.
From soccer stars...
Jen! Hey!
To TV friends. One strategist tells the Wall Street Journal brands are leaning on celebrities more than ever because there's so much pressure to get noticed. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Time now for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Right now, the Dow is down 99 to 38,577. The NASDAQ is up 44 to 15,801. And the S&P is down 2 to 49.92. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite Financial Planning at every level. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather next. Side and Unlimited WTMJ News Time, 11:04.
This report sponsored by the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes won't slow us down. Allergies, high blood pressure, shoulder pain, cancer. Nothing will keep us from pushing Wisconsin ahead. Because with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, forward progress is what we stand for. That means always pushing and always innovating. With new technologies and breakthrough treatments that make life better, whether we're sick or well. It means providing more convenience and more ways to receive medical excellence for all your health needs, for big and small. It means being there for you. Our family, caring for yours. So let's keep raising the bar. Let's keep testing the limits of what medicine can do. Let's push ahead and make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
Jason Rose is the president CEO of AccuRite Tax and Financial Services. They have document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
I think it's very accurate to call it a partnership because it's more of a relationship that you build up over time.
And your practice has had document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems for years.
Yeah, they know what you need, they know how to help, they're able to provide suggestions on future improvements or changes.
James Imaging Systems, a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed business technology company. Here for you today, helping you plan for the future.
It's a great deal. James Imaging is the real deal.
And Jason, the bottom line for your practice?
Keep us up and running, especially during tax season.
Keep your business up and running with document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
We'll see if home cooking helps cure the Milwaukee Bucks as they welcome Minnesota to Fiserv Forum to kickstart 4 straight back in Milwaukee. Game time is 7 p.m. here on 620 WTMJ with Buck Shoot-Around kicking things off at 6 p.m. Stunning loss for the Badgers last night, falling to Big Ten basement residents Michigan 72-68 in Ann Arbor. Wisconsin now 16-7 and reeling, losing 3 straight college basketball games. The Milwaukee Panthers begin a crucial road stretch of 3 away from home, matching up with Youngstown State tonight. You can catch the game on our sister station, 101.7 FM, The Truth, tonight at 5:30 with Scott Warris on the call. And the Milwaukee Brewers add another bat, signing free agent catcher Gary Sanchez to a 1-year deal. He hit 19 home runs with the Mets and Padres last season. I'm Bob Brainerd, WTMJ Sports.
WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. 94 eastbound, Highway 16 all the way into the city right now is looking good. That's a 17-minute trip. That's on time. 4145 south, no issues. Highway Q to the zoo. 43 southbound looking good. Brown Deer into downtown, and 94 northbound is clear from Layton into the Marquette. That should take you 7.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
While you're navigating the roads as quickly and safely as possible, if you see something we should know about, call the WTMJ Hall Mazda Traffic Tip Line at 414-238-9329.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast, cloudy, breezy with some midday showers rolling in and maybe even a storm later on this evening. The high today is 52, so tonight some evening storms. Cloudy, breezy, a low of 44. For Friday, a high of 51. That temp will fall later on in the day. Saturday, a chance for a snowy mix, rainy, wintry mix in the morning to the south, otherwise a high of 38. Sunday, a high of 38. Monday, a high of 38. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 47 degrees. I'm Eric Bilstead, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:08.
It's time to talk about the topics that were vague.
That's what she said. Ha! I don't get it.
It's time to talk about the topics that were hard.
That's what she said. Or he said.
It's time to talk about the topics that had us saying...
That's what she said.
It's time for...
That's what she said.
No, it's time for That's What Steve Said.
I just say it to lighten the tension when things sort of get hard.
Never gets old. That's what Steve said is the game we're going to play right here. We've kind of revamped a little bit. One question. So you can start calling right now, 855-616-1620. One question, change your life. Well, if a $30 Mind Chef gift card can change your life. And oh, by the way, great restaurant, beautiful downtown Hartford. And on Thursdays, that $30 could go a long way because buy one pizza, get one free. Buy 5, get 5 free. $30 gift card up for grabs. 855-616-1620. So I'll read the question. I'll read the 3 possible answers. And then whoever gets it right first will be the winner. 855-616-1620. All right. Let's bring, I got to move the phone thing closer to me. Let's bring in TJ from Wauwatosa. Hi, TJ.
Hey, what's going on, Steve?
How are you on this Thursday?
I can't complain. All right, Getting warm, huh?
Yeah, which I like. Tell me about TJ from Wauwatosa in 30 seconds or less.
TJ in Tosa is a big Brewers fan. I'm a little bit upset about that Burns thing, though.
Yeah, as we all are.
But at least they made a good signing with that first baseman, huh?
Yeah, they're doing some good things. All right, so this is a more serious question, but I'm going to give you the question and 3 possible answers. If you get it right in the first one, you win a $30 Mind Chef gift card to the beautiful restaurant in downtown Hartford. All right, here's the question. On yesterday's program, a caller and I were talking about the Michigan case, which ruled that a school shooter's mother was guilty of manslaughter. When I was talking about that with the caller, I mentioned the significance of a school shooting, mass shooting in my life. What school shooting did I talk about? Listen carefully. 3 possible answers. Only one is correct. A. Sandy Hook, B. Columbine, or C. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas? What's the right answer, TJ from Wauwatosa?
C.
Oh, not correct. Sorry about that, TJ. Thanks for playing. That's what Steve said. Let's go next to Claire from Neshota. Hi, Claire.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You have a wonderful voice, Claire.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do you ever think about doing radio?
I would love to do radio.
Well, here's your audition, Claire. So I don't know if you heard the question. I can repeat it, or I can just give you the three answers. Did you hear the question? Okay. So I'm going to give you the question.
It's A.
Oh, didn't need the question repeated. Confident Claire.
I'm a loyal listener.
Well, thanks for that, Claire. I appreciate that. You are correct. Here's what I actually said on that issue, because it was still very raw then. And I sat in a large room at the White House, and as the president and the vice president were talking about all of this, you could hear the parents crying. And I was sitting next to several mayors from around the country that had gone through mass shootings like we did. Ron Rordam from Blacksburg, Virginia, and a few others. One of the saddest days of my life. But Mary, you got it. Or Claire, rather. You nailed it. And you got a $30, as the winner, $30 Mind Chef gift card to the beautiful downtown Hartford location. I love the fact that you're a loyal listener, and I appreciate that you knew the answer right away. That means you are a loyal listener. So thank you, Claire.
Yep, keep up the good work. Thank you.
All right, stay on the line. Producer Charlie will get all your information. We'll take a break. After the break, two great guests from the Marquette University right here in Milwaukee, linking academics and political science to the crazy world of politics that we live in now. So we'll do that after the break right here on WTMJ.
It's a clash of the league's top teams at Fiserv Forum.
Giannis at the free throw line, trying to back his way and takes it in and flushes it through with a two-hand jam.
Tonight, Bucks, Timberwolves. Our Bucks Radio Network game day coverage kicks off at 6:30.
Thinking about that shot. Instead, he drives into Kleba and plunges it down. The big fella. Giannis tries his hand from three. Yes, sir.
The sound of the Bucks is heard here.
Three for the win, and he hit it!
On WTMJ.
I had a really strange experience today.
Strange how?
A man walked into the store who was only about 2.5 feet tall.
What?
And he was carrying a bow and arrows.
Did he sort of have a baby face?
Yes. How did you know?
Sarah, that was Cupid.
Oh.
Did he give us a thumbs up?
Yes, 3 times.
So tell us, what are the Cupid-approved gifts for Valentine's 2024?
He loved our diamond stud earrings starting at $198.
We have 186 different styles and sizes.
And we have more than 1,400 pair in stock.
And Cupid loved our $98 diamond pendant.
It looks like it's worth a lot more.
And every purchase of $298 or more includes a fabulous free travel case to safely transport all of your jewelry.
But mostly, he loved the 4-carat total weight wow diamond engagement ring for less than $4,000.
Welcome to Kessler's for Valentine's Day.
Cupid approved.
Find the Kesslers nearest you at KesslersDiamonds.com.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button. One of our senior loan consultants, Brad, sent them a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. They made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about AccuNet's new property-specific pre-approval, where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer, several $1,000s over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their property-specific rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included that most powerful phrase, no appraisal required, and the sellers picked Steve and Ashley's offer over several others. If you think all mortgage lenders and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with a local mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win and save money too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
WTMJ Now.
I always look forward to this conversation on WTMJ Now. He joins us almost once a month from Marquette University. He's always fun, always cheerful, always talking about good basketball teams. President Mike Lovell joins us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Absolutely. And you always bring great guests, and today is no exception, from the Political Science Department at Marquette University. Amber Wachowski, Professor, Doctor, welcome.
Thanks so much.
So I want to start with you, Amber, Professor. Tell us about the program you launched at Marquette University called Civic Dialogues. In this year of politics, election 2024, talk about the origin of that and some of the things you guys are talking about.
Absolutely. So Marquette Civic Dialogues program is now in its third year. We started really in response to two trends. One is rising what we political scientists call affective polarization, which is really the rise of disdain for the other side. So we're motivated in our attitudes, our behavior, less by what we want, but more by what we don't like, particularly from the other political party. The second trend, and it's a related one, which is growing discomfort with political disagreement. And we would see that on our campus and in our classrooms.
How does it manifest? What do you see?
Yeah, certainly. Students feeling less comfortable sharing their ideas, getting into healthy political disagreement and debate. I've been teaching at Marquette since 2011. When I started, students they embraced it, that sort of political back and forth give and take. In recent years, it's been less so. Students feeling very concerned about whether it's cancel culture or what they're going to say, that it's going to be deemed as something that is their totality of who they are, that they can't make mistakes. And I'm concerned that sort of discourse, it really flattens difference. It doesn't get to the nuance and the complexities of issues. So the Civic Dialogues program is about developing good civic skills and giving students opportunities to practice them.
As part of that program, you bring in guests that professionally disagree, hopefully not personally disagree. How has bringing those professionals from both sides of the political argument contributed to your knowledge, your education of the appreciation of respectful dialogue in politics?
Yeah, absolutely. So the program has two parts, and one part is bringing speakers to campus who can model productive disagreement. In our first year, we brought two people. One was a Marquette alum, Michael Strain from the American Enterprise Institute, and the other one was Betsy Stevenson, an economist who was in the Obama administration. And they came to campus to debate the American dream and the ways in which the government was responding to the pandemic, to rising inflation, various issues of public policy. And what was so great about that event was that it showed how people can disagree in productive ways, but also to show that there are areas, even for people who disagree on many issues, can still find common ground on some, and that it is worth engaging in that conversation. After that event, I had two students come up to me. These two students are from opposite ends of the political spectrum. They came up to me and they said, you know what, Dr. Wachowski, that's going to be us in 20 years. The two of us are going to be up on that stage, because they had formed a civic friendship. Again, they didn't agree on everything, but they came to see the purpose and the value in having those connections.
I love that story because it often starts with a simple conversation, even from two really disparate political sides of the aisle. President Lovell, you have produced, your institution produces politicians from both sides of the political aisle. What about Marquette? Their education and experience unites them in the really diverse world of politics today.
You know, it's a fun fact is that 20% of Congress is Jesuit educated. You know, we are a Catholic institution, and I really think it's our focus on the liberal arts and the humanities and how we educate, people to be good citizens and to serve others. And it's more than that, because to be a politician, you have to be good at critical thinking. You have to be able to communicate, well with others, and and you also have to be hopefully ethical. And those are all things that are a hallmark of our education. And we really, and I think Amber's a great example is what she does in the classroom. We teach students to learn how to think and not what to think. And I think again that's really important. And then, as I said before, our commitment to service, our students do over 500,000 hours of service every year, in our community. And so individuals who that becomes part of who they are, to be a politician is really to try to serve your constituents or serve society. So I think it's a very natural step, for some of our graduates to get into politics.
I love that real life example of touching the community, because often, even in educational institutions, we talk about these things that are happening, but when you can actually get into the community, that real life experience can shape those future politicians or whatever they end up being.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Professor Wachowski, we have talked with President Lovell about the RNC, the big event happening in Milwaukee this summer in the mid-July. As a political scientist, somebody who lives this role every day in your educational experience, have you taken some of what's going to happen and tied it into your educational experiences and what you're teaching the young people at Marquette?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll highlight 2, maybe 3 things. With the Civic Dialogues program, I'm really excited. We'll be partnering with Milwaukee PBS, where we will be hosting a series of dialogue dinners in the community where we're bringing diverse groups of southeastern Wisconsinites together to talk about some of the important issues as we head into the RNC in 2024, whether it's education, immigration, climate change, democracy. So I'm excited about that programming that we're going to be doing and building those connections with members of the community. The second is another hat I wear is that I teach political science, and one of the classes that I'm teaching this semester is urban public policy. And so in that class, we are looking at the issue from a different perspective, different angle.
What's the different perspective?
The different perspective would be, what does it take for cities to bring a major event, whether it's the DNC back in 2020 or the RNC to Milwaukee here in 2024? What is it about cities like Milwaukee, and what benefits might they see after having these big events here in our community?
President Lovell, you have the Les Aspin Center for Government in Washington, D.C., a city I love, I've been to many times. What is it that brings, and what do the students gain for that experience they get and gather in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, our Les Aspin Center in the academic program here, there's really a flagship of what Marquette has to offer. Matter of fact, before I came to Marquette, I was always jealous that I was not an institution that had a campus, on Capitol Hill. And so our students get to take their classes, just a few blocks from the Hill. We actually have a residence hall there as well. And the great thing about it is that then they get to intern, in the Capitol or in other agencies nearby. And so many of our students get transformed by that experience because, again, it's very practical, very real. And if you've ever, visited a politician, I always come away feeling that the country's being run by 20-year-olds because you see really a lot of the lion's share of the work the students are executing on behalf of our political leaders. And so to be that close, sometimes I don't think they don't understand how lucky they are because if you've been 3 blocks from the Capitol, you know what kind of neighborhood that is. And for them to be able to live there, pay Marquette tuition, and they actually pay our same room and board, even though they're staying in these.
How many students go through that program?
Usually about 20 to 30 a semester.
Wow.
It depends. And we also have programs in the summer as well.
We're joined on WTMJ now by the president of Marquette University, Michael Lovell, and from the political science department, Professor Amber Wachowski. So, Amber, one of your areas of expertise is public opinion polling. You collaborated in a project called, I can see if I can get this right, Electurator?
Oh, you got it.
Electurator. Ahead of the 2020 presidential election, which we've all talked a lot about, especially those of us on the radio. You and UW Milwaukee's co-director of the Northwestern Mutual Data Science Institute collaborated to use social media as a polling mechanism for the election. Can you talk a little bit about what went into that and what you learned from that project?
Yeah, that was quite a project because, of course, it was interrupted by the pandemic in March 2020. So in that project, we were tracking how folks on then Twitter were talking about politics as we were heading into the DNC. So we developed an issue tracker, looking at what are the issues as they're rising and falling on the agenda. And then we also fielded public opinion surveys. People who tweet about politics or post about politics they're rare birds, if you will.
How so?
They are younger, more liberal, and much more politically interested. So we were curious. You've got this active electorate on social media talking about politics. You've got candidates out on the campaign trail talking about the issues in politics. And then you've got regular voters, and thinking about what are the issues that are top of mind for them. So we were tracking those dynamics over the course of the nomination battle.
How accurate is it?
So this was so much fun. It's a very rich project. You can imagine we had millions of tweets that we were analyzing. So I'll just give some high-level points here. One, the first thing, I will say that this dynamic came up before the summer, before all of the protests around George Floyd's death and the sort of protests that we saw across the country. When we were looking at the Democratic nomination, the issue that just was popping on social media was civil rights and discrimination, racial equality, gender equality, LGBTQ rights. What we saw in terms of the dynamics over time was that it was people on Twitter tweeting about those issues, and then the candidates, and then the news media responding. In that sense, the sort of bottom-up dynamic. You can contrast that to healthcare or the economy. Much more typical campaign dynamic where the candidates would talk about things and the public responds. And then the one final issue I'll note here is immigration. Immigration was an issue heading into 2020. We really thought we'd see a lot of discussion on social media, public opinion data. Just wasn't there. And of course, we saw that come the election outcome. It just wasn't a top issue for either the Trump or the Biden campaigns.
It is kind of an amazing thing that given the power of social media, most everyone's connected to it in some way, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or X, formerly known as Twitter, that we can now use that information, those tweets, those posts, those comments, those videos, as a tool to sort of gather some information about how the politics of our country is doing. It's a fascinating look at something that a lot of people don't even take seriously. President Lovell, we're joined in studio, of course, by President Lovell. We're just going to go one long segment because I love talking to you guys, and I want to break it up for commercials.
Sounds good.
President Mike Lovell from Marquette, and from the Political Science Department, Professor Amber Wachowski. For President Lovell, everybody knows about the Marquette Law School poll. It's the gold standard, as they say. I've talked to Charles Franklin, the director, on my show, on my podcast. Love talking to him. I love how he breaks it down for us. When we're talking about polling and the presidential election, I just saw the Marquette Law School poll was rated number 3 in the country by 538, and is noted, this is kind of a cool distinction, the most transparent poll in the country. That's pretty incredible stuff. Why is it important for Marquette, or universities for that matter, to engage in the political discourse through polling like that?
Yeah, so our poll isn't always just about politics too. Many times it's about issues that we're debating either here locally or nationally. And we believe that because of our poll, we are looked at as a thought leader from across the country. And the great thing about it is that they do such a good job of being nonpartisan and being unbiased and trying to be independent. And so people, when we have the results of the poll, people take it as really as the gospel. And, for Marquette University, for people all over the country looking to our poll, that's great for our university, and it's also, I also believe it's providing information for people to make informed decisions. If you're a politician, you understand the way the public feels about something, you're probably going to be swayed to do one thing or another.
Do you get a first look at it before the rest of us do?
No, I find out when everybody else does.
Even as the president of the university?
No, that's the independence that
Charles maintains the standard. That's why he's so good. All right, it's a fascinating conversation. I'm actually going to extend the conversation with Professor Wachowski after this, because I want to talk to her on my podcast, which you can find at Decision Wisconsin podcast page on WTMJ.com or wherever you get your podcast. But I like to end them on sort of a fun note, and I'll start with you, Professor. What's your favorite way, this is kind of the weird winter to ask this, to enjoy winter in Wisconsin?
Well, I think President Lovell is going to like my answer here. I'm a runner. And I try to get outside nearly every day. I need to see that sunlight. I will just echo, the Danes have a saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So I think you can run, you can bike year-round here
Are you
in
no
Wisconsin.
limits? Like when I was a runner, which is now a long time ago, I would go out in snowstorms. Are you that kind of runner, like committed?
Yeah, the only thing that gives me a little pause is when there's ice.
Yeah.
You can put those yak tracks and other things on your shoe. That is the one thing that will give me pause. But it is not the wind or the cold. I will just put gear on and I'll head out.
Have you run a marathon?
Half marathon.
Okay, well, there's still a goal there then. President Lovell, I know you love to run because you tell me about it all the time.
Yeah.
What's your favorite winter enjoyment?
So
you can't say running because Professor stole that already.
Which exactly. So I love winter because it's basketball season.
Oh yeah.
Having
sat next to you, I know how much you enjoy it.
Yes, and so so getting to go to games, is something that I really enjoy, and seeing our young men and women compete, on the floor is fantastic. And we're heading into National Marquette Day, so we're pretty excited about what's ahead.
That's perfectly appropriate as the president of the university. I will tell this quick story. So you invited me to one of the games. I sat next to you on the court. I don't know if everybody realizes it, but he gets the stats handed to him constantly. So he always knows what's the real life nuts and bolts of what's happening on the court. How long has that been going on?
Since I started here.
Is that something you asked for, or they just started doing it?
So one game, we were down in Florida, a tournament in Orlando, and I was sitting right behind the scoring table, and when Scott Kuykendall, our media guy, was there, and I asked him for the stats, and he started giving it to me that game, and then now He walks around the whole floor and gives the stats to the announcers, but then comes around my way and gives me a set of stats. So.
Very nice. I will say this. You always have great programs at Marquette, not just basketball, other programs as well. President Mike Lovell from the Political Science Department, Professor Dr. Amber Wachowski, my pleasure to meet you, and extended conversation with you on our podcast, Decision Wisconsin, which will be available wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening, of course, to WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Be sure to load up on Vienna Beef hot dogs for this weekend's big football game. The official hot dog of the Milwaukee Brewers is Vienna Beef. Manufactured and produced since 1893. Available at select grocers and hot dog stands near you.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I had snoring issues. I was tossing and turning. My poor wife, Kathy, had to deal with all that. No longer. I did something about it. I went to Advent, one of their great facilities, and they said, your nose isn't working properly. We did a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed to kind of supplement what they were telling me. They found out my problem, root cause of my problem, sinuses, nasal passages, breathing triangle. After a short procedure done at one of their great facilities, I'm back to breathing better than ever, sleeping. Honestly, God, people would say I'm making this up. I sleep through the whole night. I put my head on that pillow, I fall asleep quickly, and I wake up almost in the same spot I fell asleep at. If you struggle like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help you. Find out breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better. Go to AdventKnows.com and schedule an appointment today because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Vince Vetrano for Connect Chiropractic. Been seeing Dr. Alex and his team since the summer. Talking with a fellow patient, she came to Connect Chiropractic years ago, debilitating migraines. Couldn't go to work or school. Now her headaches are gone. No twisting, no cracking, no popping. The chiropractors use a special tool for all your adjustments. Just a few clicks every visit to restore proper nerve and muscle function. Chiropractic care can help boost your immune system. Find out how at a free workshop this February. Check the website for information. It's Go Connect Chiro. That's GoConnectChiro.com.
Hey, Wayne, shopping for a new door? Do you need something more dependable?
Yes, something that's durable, dent-resistant, knows how to take a hit, and is going to last for years.
We're still talking about the door, right?
Oh yeah, right, of course.
Wayne Larrabee and Jeff Levering shopping together at Pella? What next? How about 0% interest for up to 60 months when you place your order by February 23rd at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 2/23/2024. It's WTMJ Now.
Oh, thanks to my guests. President Dr. Mike Lovell of Marquette University and also Professor Dr. Amber Wachowski from the Political Science Department at Marquette. Great guests. And if you want more of that conversation, all you got to do is go to our great podcast page on WTMJ. I interviewed Dr. Wachowski after the interview, and we talked about all of these things. And it's available at Decision Wisconsin, our political home for podcasts. I do a lot of different interviews there, 2 a week. And she's the latest up right now at WTMJ.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And for all other podcasts, I basically say it this way. Everything other than politics, Scaffidi podcast, also available wherever you get your podcasts or at WTMJ.com. And this week, it's not out there yet, but Friday we're gonna publish it. The one, the only, Gene Miller, radio legend. Oh my goodness. That is a fun conversation. I did it the other day with Gino, as we used to call him, and you will enjoy that. We're gonna have fun with that one, and we talk about everything from a little bit of politics, not much, life after radio, sports. He answers the Craig Council question, which is a big one. That's that Scaffidi podcast, my home for everything other than politics. Another quick break, and then you can't bet on them in Vegas, but you can find places to bet, and you can certainly do it on your own. The prop bets you really want to see in the Super Bowl after this.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Milwaukee attorneys. 111 East Kilbourne Avenue, Suite 1650, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202.
KFC's new Smashed Potato Bowl is out here looking like an absolute snack. For just $3.49, you get crispy secret recipe fries topped with creamy mashed potatoes, cheese sauce, bacon crumbles, and even more melty cheese. If you're looking to smash your hunger, grab KFC's new Smashed Potato Bowl for just $3.49. For a little extra, add nuggets to the mix. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tip, and fees extra.
Do you have the winter blues? WTMJ's John Mercure here. Brighten up your Friday with a great fish fry at the historic Fox & Hound Supper Club. I love the Fox & Hounds, and the cod is all you care to eat and one of the best. All other dinners are buy one, get one free, including desserts, even on a Friday and Saturday night. I love the dinners. I love the desserts. It's the best weekend dining value in the state. Relax with a delicious old-fashioned, a Manhattan, 20 bourbons, your favorite ice-cold beer, a wine list with 100 fine wines. Saturday, buy one prime rib dinner, get one free. Highly recommended, the magnificent Sunday brunch. Kids and grandkids under 3, eat for free. The Fox & Hound sits in the heart of the Kettle Moraine Forest. The setting is spectacular, and those 7 wood-burning fireplaces are perfect. Just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of Holy Hill. It's a beautiful drive. Escape from your kitchen with a great Friday fish fry and a free dinner this weekend. FoxandHoundsRestaurant.com. I love the Fox & Hounds.
WTMJ Now.
All right, unless you live in a cave, everybody knows it's Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to have some stuff tomorrow about the ads, and then a special edition. Get this, special edition of the Monday Show. Everybody's favorite co-host, Carol Kane, radio legend, will be here for the full 3 hours. I should have told my bosses, but I didn't. She'll be here for 3 hours. Hope you're listening, Carol. That was for you. And our buddy, Steve Palick, also a radio legend in Milwaukee for many, many years, doing his Sunday show and all over the place. He's a, people call me a Renaissance man. He is the true Renaissance man. He can delve into the world of bourbons and whiskeys and fast food, culture, sports. He is a true Renaissance man. Steve Palick, the other legend. 2 legends and a regular guy on Monday's program. I cannot wait to do that. And for all you podcast lovers, I didn't have enough radio legend with the Gene Miller podcast, which we'll publish on Friday on Scaffidi podcast, which you can find wherever you get your podcast. My name, Ology. Easy. I'm going to actually, after they're on the show, I'm going to interview them for the podcast. I'm going to ask the questions I didn't get to ask on the air. Maybe we'll throw in a spicy word or two. What do you think? Unplugged? I'm in if they're in. So look for that. All right. I'm going to tee this up, and then we'll take a break, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So we're all going to watch the Super Bowl, most of us. If you're not watching the Super Bowl, like, what's wrong with you? Don't give me that I don't like sports thing. It's a cultural event, people. It's more than 600 million people will be watching this game. You don't have to like football. It's a cultural event. The commercials. The Taylor Swift stuff, which is what I'm getting to. Prop bets. Now, my understanding is you can't make these bets in Las Vegas or the online platforms. Unless they're overseas, there might be an opportunity there, but I'm not going to encourage you to do that because you never know what you're getting into when you start going to off-site or offshore betting platforms. So I just pulled up. This might be a fun thing. You print these. If you go to Forbes.com, they actually have the Taylor Swift Super Bowl props bet sheet. You could do this for fun while you're watching the game, and we know this. This is a fact. I believe that because of Taylor Swift, NFL viewing is up 14%. The Taylor Swift effect, everything she touches turns to gold. You don't have to like that, but that's the reality. Some of the prop bets you could have fun with. Will she be shown on camera during the game at least 6 times? 6 is a bit much. I would put the over-under at 4. Now, a lot of it depends on what happens. If Kansas City wins, it's going to go well over 6. Will Swift make it to the Super Bowl on time for kickoff after her Tokyo concert? The answer to that question is yes. I don't know why that's a prop bet, because barring some unforeseen circumstance, I guess. Will she be wearing a Kelsey jersey? Boy, I think so, right? That would make sense. At least a Kansas City jersey. Will she be, this is a good one, will she be shown singing along with the national anthem? Yes or no? I would think, but yeah, we'll find out. Will she be shown hugging Kelsey's mom during the game? I would take that in a heartbeat for a lot of money, yes. Will she hug Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany, after a Chiefs touchdown? The answer to that is yes. Why is that a prop bet? Easy. Will Swift be shown on camera during Usher's Super Bowl halftime show? As you all know, Usher's the halftime entertainment, great entertainer. I think it was CBS Sunday Morning did a great piece with him this weekend. He's doing it right. He's got it. I believe he's from Las Vegas too. Looked like he had a beautiful home. He raised his family with a view of the valley. Will she be shown? I would think yes. Will she be in a Super Bowl commercial? I don't know the answer to that question. That seems like a weird prop bet because don't they know the commercials ahead of time? That would seem funny. Will Kelsey quote a Swift song after the game concludes? That's a good question.
Only if they win.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Also, you know what's interesting about Travis Kelce's mother?
No.
She probably won't be seen in the box with Taylor Swift because of how exorbitantly expensive it is to be in those boxes.
You know, I heard that.
Especially since the Super Bowl.
Who was that was telling me? It was on a show, maybe it wasn't, that the players' families, they got to pay these prices.
That's astounding, especially for this big of a game.
Yeah, you'd think they get some little freebies, but no, because, I mean, the average ticket price is like $9,000. It's insane. Who can afford that nonsense? I would love to go to Super Bowl, but that's out of my price range. A couple more before we go to break, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on certainly the Taylor Swift version of prop bets. Will Kelsey and Swift kiss on the field after the game? Only if they win. If they don't win, they ain't kissing. Will Swift be shown holding the Lombardi Trophy? I don't think so. Doesn't seem appropriate. Will the Super Bowl MVP mention Swift in his speech? Well, if it's Travis Kelce, maybe, but it's probably going to be Patrick Mahomes if they win. Will Swift, this is a good one, will Swift receive a Gatorade shower on the field? Don't think so. That usually happens among the players and coaches right at the moment the game ends. And this is the big one. Your thoughts. This is what I want to hear from you. 855-616-1620. If they win, and if Taylor Swift's on the field with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift after the game on the field? Yay or nay, yes or no? You tell me, 855-616-1620 on the WTMJ Talk and Text line.
More of WTMJ now after this.
It's the last resort that comes with a grueling and painful recovery. And from what I've been told, it never really feels quite natural. A total knee replacement may make the pain you're living with eventually go away, but it opens up a Pandora's box of other possible issues. And that's why surgeons who really do care will tell you that it's a last resort. There are other surgeons who cry, "Replace! Replace!" But the physicians you'll find at Rejuvenex are primarily concerned with relief. And you may find out that the relief we give you helps so much so that you may not need to get that total knee replacement. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics. Our FDA-approved pain treatments aid inflammation and lubricate your joints. And in most cases, insurance has been shown to cover the costs. At Rejuvenex, we can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life. Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Whether you're an active or passively active home shopper, our agents want you to be completely up to date with what's out there and what's brand new to the market. With our instant emailed MLS updates, you'll never miss out on what could be the home of your dreams. All you have to do is call and tell us where to search, give us a price range, and soon you'll be totally in tune with your desired real estate market. Remember, MLS searches show you everything. Some of the other real estate sites don't. So call Benefit Realty today, where you'll pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com. 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission. You can't find a lower rate of commission, and you won't be able to find better knowledge, service, and real estate expertise than you'll find with our agents at Benefit Realty. Because I know that's what you expect. Now, I'm not sure you'll be able to find the highest caliber of agents everywhere, but I can promise that's what you'll get here. So choose Benefit Realty to exceed your expectations, and you'll pay less for more. This is Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where you pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com.
Annex Wealth Management. Investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning from a fee-only fiduciary. Forget commission sales pitches and financial products you don't need. Know the difference. Annex provides elite, comprehensive financial planning customized to who you are and what you need. AnnexWealth.com.
Hey, Valentine's Day is Wednesday. Don't forget your sweetheart. Enjoy a great dinner for under $10 at the amazing Mind Chef restaurant in Hartford. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love the Mind Chef, locally, family-owned for over 46 years. The all-you-can-eat cod, perch, shrimp, or poor man's lobster dinner is just $9.99. And desserts are delicious, and they're buy one, get one free, even on Valentine's Day. So order your favorite steak, Italian, pasta, a fresh salad, all super affordable. Sip on an old-fashioned, a Manhattan, a cold brew, or your favorite glass of wine for a perfect Valentine's Day dinner. Where would you be without your sweetheart? Go out for dinner to the Mind Chef for under $10. It's big food, big fun. It's in beautiful downtown Hartford with lots of seating and close parking. The most affordable Valentine's Day dinner destination in the area. Reserve today for your Valentine's Day dinner. Incredible value. You're going to love it. It's under $10. MindChefRestaurant.com.
WTMJ Now.
The one, the only Taylor Swift, everybody, who will be hopefully at the Super Bowl if she makes it back from Tokyo, where she's doing her concert tour, the Asian leg of the concert tour. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. Will the big question get asked on field? Well, only if the Chiefs win, because they wouldn't be on the field if the 49ers win. I'm predicting the Chiefs will win, by the way. Actually, pretty handily. Only reason I say that, not that I don't like the 49ers. Actually, I lived in San Francisco for a while when Joe Montana was their quarterback. Loved watching him. And I think that they've been sloppy in their playoff games. And that's one thing that's not going to work against a really well-oiled, well-coached, well-played squad like the Chiefs. So I'd say the Chiefs by 10 would be my prediction. I was wondering if Mike from Illinois would have a take on the Travis Kelce, Taylor. So a lot of people are wondering this. Let's talk to Mike from Illinois. Hi, Mike.
How are you, Steve?
I'm good.
Good afternoon or good morning, and happy Super Bowl Thursday.
Yes. What is your Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce proposal hot take?
You know, right when you said it, I was kind of thinking about it, and I think because so much has been made of that and speculation about it, that it's not going to happen. Obviously, it would only happen if the Chiefs won, which I agree with you. I think they're going to win. But I just think that they're going to hold back on that one.
It's such a fairy tale ending, not an ending, but a fairy tale part of the story, though, right? If you have that opportunity, you never know when that's going to come up again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean.
I just think there's been so much hype about it to begin with that they might want something more private.
You know, you might not be too far off base there. I wonder if Taylor Swift would actually appreciate that sort of capturing it on a broadcast in front of like 1 billion people.
And remember how she was kind of getting annoyed that the camera was kept going to her during the AFC Championship? I think that she'd want it to be a little more personal and private.
All right. Are you married, Mike?
I am not. I'm single.
Oh, were you married ever? Were you ever married?
Well, my daughter, it's a long story, but I have a daughter. We have a daughter who's 23 years old now.
All right. Interesting backstory that I didn't know about Mike from Illinois. We'll have to explore that in greater detail at some point in the future. Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. I didn't know what I was getting into there. It was crazy. So I was looking at the text line because I asked a question about the engagement. I don't think it's going to happen, even if the Chiefs win. It would be pretty far-fetched. It would be pretty fairy tale-esque. Texter says, I cannot believe that anyone thinks that Travis and Taylor will be getting engaged. No way. Well, I mean, ever, Texter, or like this weekend? Ever. I mean, it sounded like I think they were captured with a hot mic saying they loved each other. So, I mean, that's usually one of the precursors to at least getting in a relationship that's serious. So, who knows? Maybe they don't believe in a traditional marriage. Who knows? A lot of people say yay. Absolutely not. Travis said on his podcast this will be the biggest game of his life. This could be why. Who knows? Oh, I see where you're going there. So because it's the biggest game of his life, is it also the biggest day of his life, at least as far as relationships? Plus his parents will be there, right? His brother's going to be there, I would think. And I think they were complaining about on their podcast that Charlie was alluding to this earlier, the cost of these tickets, they don't get a break. So if they have like 10 people, you're talking like $100,000 of cost. Now they make a lot of money, I get that. But it is an interesting question. I forgot to do this earlier related to the podcast. If you text the word RNC, you can actually get the Decision Wisconsin podcast. So the latest one with Professor Dr. Amber Wachowski from Marquette University, that's up already. I've talked to Charles Franklin. He had a new version of his poll today, which we'll probably talk about tomorrow with Bill McCoshen and Joseph Pecky. A lot of great content there. I talked to Scott Klug, former congressman. Got some really good ones coming up. There's a lot of great content available on the podcast page. And one of the things you'll recognize with my 2024 WTMJ Life, I'm going to be very involved in the politics side and some fun stuff as well with this Scaffidi podcast, which is, as I've described, everything but politics. So we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff on the podcast. All right, now take a break here. Last break, and we'll wind it up for the fill-in host today, which is an amazing story himself, Joe Zepecki. People saying, who's Joe Zepecki? Come on now. You know who Joe Zepecki is. He stars on Friday, one of the two brilliant co-stars of the Political Power Hour on Friday. Of course, the other one being Bill McCoshen. He's not here today. Joe is. Well, let's see what that's all about. Is there a tension between the two stars? We'll find out those questions and more with Joe after this.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Hey, Vince Vitrano.
And Eric Bilstead here from Wisconsin's Morning News.
Join us all week long. We're going to be giving away Barry Manilow tickets to the show coming up in Milwaukee at Fiserv Forum.
Looks like we made it.
Saturday, August 3rd is the show.
It's a night of singing along to your favorite tunes with the man himself. We'll be giving tickets away every day. Just be sure you're listening to Wisconsin's Morning News.
We'll do it all week right here on WTMJ. The show's on 6 to 9 every morning. It's Barry Manilow at Fiserv Forum on Saturday, August 3rd.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first, and then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
Get help for your house this Saturday from Eric Brown. The president of Siding Unlimited knows his stuff. Yes, their name is Siding, but they do so much more. Windows by Pella and others, roofing, decks. That's why they are Siding Unlimited. Eric can advise you with anything about your home's exterior. Make a point to listen and call Eric this Saturday on WTMJ's Fix-It Show. And remember why they are called Siding Unlimited. They are siding and much, much more. See sidingunlimited.com and you'll see.
Gruber Law Offices, serving the people of Wisconsin for over 30 years. Call us today if you've been injured. Gruber Law Offices, a proud partner of the Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending